Greetings and salutations, Mr. Mish. My name is Don Tony, and before we commence this podcast, I want to dive into this cup of tea, slim tea, diet tea, and I enjoy it very much. But you see, Mr. Mish, I don't enjoy my tea with one tea bag, not two, Mr. Mish, but three. With respect to sweetness, Mr. Mish, I take my tea with stevia. Told you, Keith Lee is perfect for Raw and SmackDown, the way he talks. Mish, before we commence, and I'm sorry if anyone out there thinks that I false advertised about the Don Tony Show. It's Breakfast Soup returning. I am back, as always, on Monday nights. Much love to everybody out there. Big shout out to everybody who was tuning in live. And as you can see on the screen, back by popular demand, Mish.
Anthony Missionary Thomas. What's going on there, DT?
Pretty hectic Raw, man. I tell you, they are just loading it. It's like you go into specialty stores, and a specialty store may have like a lot of international goods and products, or you may go into a store that's mostly produce, but they have a real wide array of it. What WWE, it feels like they have done for the last 3 weeks is just flood the store with any goods they could possibly fill in that store. When you look at the results, even just for Raw Underground tonight, technically it was like 7 matches, 8 matches. I know it's, a minute or two apart. But they are just flooding it with everything, and it's confusing. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. It's like you don't even get a breath of air, and that's not always a good thing, especially for 3 hours. It wipes you out.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, we just came out of a pay-per-view last night. We came off of pay-per-view last week. I mean, I think I did Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and tonight.
Yeah.
Twice today. So I did a Frank and Gus with Joe earlier. So lots to talk about as far as wrestling goes. And I will say that there's been a couple of positive changes that even dropped tonight. Speaking of drop, you did a little drop of your own after you heard the news about the old IIconics there.
Oh, yeah. We had this match tonight. I thought Santa Claus was coming early today. Yeah. And I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? With all the riots going on in the United States, I could picture WWE breaking up the Riott Squad just to not use the term riot. Plus, what riots have they really caused lately? Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott. Wow. And, I hate Marty Jannetty over the years has become an adjective. Who's the Marty Jannetty of the team?
Right.
So we get this teaser tonight that we're going to have a tag team match, the Riott Squad versus the IIconics, and the losing team breaks up. The winning team gets a future title shot. And it was funny because last night, during the Payback pay-per-view recap, which I did, I said that I get this feeling that Shayna Basler and Nia Jax is going to be feuding with the Riott Squad next. But I thought maybe it's just a chance. Christmas came early. One less piss break, one less iconic piss break to do during Raw. And
I'm
sure
okay
enough,
with that.
the IIconics.
I'm so okay with that. I'm fine Absolutely. With them going. There's already the proverbial pot being stirred. People think that Billie might be just the only one that's going. So I don't know if it's both of them, one of them. If this is just going to be something that they work down the road later on, it's something else like Raw Underground, which we did see them at Raw Underground later on in the evening. So I don't necessarily know if they're leaving the company, but there's an idea there. And And if
No,
it does happen,
I think Peyton Royce goes on a big singles run. I wouldn't be surprised if Peyton Royce, ends up taking that women's championship off of Asuka. I mean, Peyton Royce, she's not, top tier, but she is substantially improved, especially in 2020.
I mean, even tonight, she was using hair pulls and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, this is very retro as far as the women's division goes. It seems like the women in WWE have tried to steer more towards the athletic competition when it comes inside the ring, and Peyton's still using hair pulls. So, I mean, I guess that's a heel thing too, of course, but it's also a very low-tier women's attack that's been used by divas for many, many years.
Do you think because of the segment we got with Raw Underground with those two, that we're going to have a match between Billie Kay versus Peyton Royce in the next week or two? Because I kind of feel that that's where it's going to go.
It could go down that road. Yeah. I mean, I guess that would be an interesting send-off for Billie Kay if she gets taken out by her own partner or ex-partner or whatever it is. But right now, it's all up in the air. I mean, obviously, Uncle Dave Tuna was one of the first ones to talk about that tonight. So I'm kind of curious as far as what the contract status is for both of them, as opposed to just Peyton Royce or Billie Kay.
With Billie Kay, do you think they kind of gave away that they were losing tonight? Because Billie Kay's eyes were awfully red when they did the interview segment with Charlie Caruso earlier in the night, talking about this match and talking about how they grew up and, all the years that they spent together, and it looked like that they had shed a lot of tears earlier in the night.
Look, regardless of how I feel about her in the ring, I mean, I do believe that her and Peyton are genuinely best friends.
Yeah.
Like, as silly as the gimmick is, or as unenjoyable as it is, or whatever you may feel about what they do in the ring, as far as their personal lives, they've always kind of seemed to be genuine friends. Like, it doesn't seem like it's just a complete, hey, we'll see each other at work next week. So there's something there, and I'm sure that because they came up through NXT and they came up into WWE together, and they've kind of stuck together through this thick and thin, through the championships and the losses. There's probably some genuine feelings brought up between them there, and I wouldn't doubt if she probably shed a little water because of the situation.
Yeah. I tell you, when they split up, I expected to hear, just like Bobby Heenan with Gorilla Monsoon, God rest both their souls. When Bobby Heenan had the last appearance on Monday Night Raw, when they threw all this stuff out in the street, they went back to the hotel, and Gorilla Monsoon got Bobby Heenan a big fruit basket, and they just hung out in the room and cried. And I thought, okay, maybe they're going to go to the hotel and just cry and be happy and this and that. But no, they go to Raw Underground instead. It was just funny because it just, what it reminded me of? It reminded me of two people. Could be a couple, could be friends, two people. And I don't want to go racial. But I think when I describe it this way, it's probably the best way I could describe it. It's like two white nerd guys somehow gets lost in Spanish Harlem or the Bronx, and they walk into a nightclub and they're surrounded by pretty much everybody black, hip-hop, and just, like just a totally, like, two white nerd guys show up in a big hip-hop club, and everybody looks at them like, that's what they looked like there. It almost, when I told the story a long time ago when I was a teenager, me and my friends, we were walking around Greenwich Village. I think I told you this story. And, we walked into a bar to try to get a drink. I mean, we were underage, but we had fake ID. So we walked into a bar, and we see, like, some really odd props, a lot of S&M stuff, and then we realized we were in a gay bar. I mean, everybody was nice. We got out of there after a few minutes, but still, like, you got these white cousins, from the neighborhood, Goodfellas, and then we walk into this gay bar. It's just, that's what the IIconics look like tonight on Raw Underground.
Yeah, they don't fit. They don't fit that atmosphere. They had Ronda Rousey's. You think they fit
Blue Oyster.
Oh, okay. I was going like, dear Lord, no.
George Burns.
They had Ronda's, I forgot what the two girls' names are already. I don't know why I keep forgetting their names, but Ronda's two other horsemen.
Oh, Marina, Shafir, and Jessamyn Duke.
Yeah, so they had them out there tonight. They fit the Raw Underground. Yeah. Like, I don't mind seeing them there. Yeah. Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. Nah.
I mean, even Billie Kay, when she gets quote-unquote knocked out like MMA style, it's always like she doesn't just fall and take a nice bump. She always does something like this. She'll be on the other side and she'll spin around. And that's what she does. I'm serious. When she gets hit, she goes...
Yeah, she's Glass Joe. I don't know if you ever remember Mike Tyson's Punch-Out from the Nintendo days. But she spins around like she's fucking Glass Joe. Totally. Yeah.
Anthony Harris. I love the Bronx. I just crack jokes. I love the Bronx. Seriously. Yeah. I have no problem with the Bronx. By the way, I want to shout out everybody who's tuning in live. I know some of you are just getting in here now. You know, we purposely avoided probably two of the biggest news stories of the year. Well, I don't know about the year. One definitely is, but I want to get everybody to get situated. I know there's a lot of other podcasts on YouTube streaming live right now, so a lot of you will get this on the archive later on. First and foremost, if all of you have not had a chance yet, Wrestling Soup did a Payback pay-per-view recap yesterday. Yours truly also did a pay-per-view recap yesterday. And remember, tonight at midnight, it'll be September 1st. So for everybody out there that wants to sign up to the Patreon to get the Don Tony Kevin Castle show that's going to air tomorrow, live at 9 p.m. Eastern, it'll be on Patreon. And what we decided to do is all of our Patreon shows now are going to run about 90 minutes. You and I did Breakfast Soup last week, 90 minutes, and everybody loved it. They're like, oh, my God, everything was nice, tight. You know, there's no reason why you can't just cram it all in. So everything's going to be about 90 minutes from now on. But you got more shows, you know, so you literally got almost a show every day of the week.
Yes.
So tomorrow night from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m., Kevin and I are going to do kind of like the audio version of a watch-along. We're going to watch the NXT 60-minute Iron Man match live and comment during the show, talk about a couple of news tidbits, and then once that match is over, which will be 10 p.m. Eastern, then from 10 to 10:30, we'll pretty much talk about everything else. So,
can I ask you something about that NXT thing, though, on a sidetrack real quick? Do you think that there's a reason for WWE and, or I should say USA and TNT to keep switching these shows' dates?
Isn't it hockey?
Well, is it that, or are they trying to feel out the audience more? Or because I guess on Saturday AEW did really well for themselves.
Yeah,
but last Saturday. But I'm just saying, with them going with NXT now going to Tuesday, do you think it's just because of the sports season coming up, or do you think that it's more along the lines of they're trying to find the right niche for them?
Well, for this week it's hockey related, but I said this last week that. And I also made this claim a month ago. I don't know if I'm going to be right. But I truthfully believe by WrestleMania time, AEW and NXT will be on separate nights. I don't know. You know, it's interesting because they both could leave Wednesdays. It's possible. But AEW did great on that Saturday night. Right. They also started 20 minutes late. They also went up against NXT TakeOver 30, which was a big deal.
Right.
NXT did well the week before. They went down a little bit last week, which kind of surprised me. But, you know, I went on 2 very long rants last week about this. But basically just to summarize it is, you know, if AEW and NXT are on separate nights, there's no reason why each one of them doesn't draw 1 million.
Right.
There's no reason. There's no reason. And also, if one of them leaves Wednesday, no fans of whichever promotion stays Wednesday, they should not be gloating. They should not be saying, NXT, see, we forced you to leave. We forced you to move. You caved in. Got news for you. If NXT moves to a different night, AEW fans should thank NXT. Because you're going to get a lot more NXT fans. They're going to watch Dynamite since NXT is not going to be on against them. And the flip side, too. Right. And for all of us, it'll probably make the wrestling even better. Because now if you're on separate nights, WWE realizes that NXT fans are going to watch Dynamite.
Well, in theory, that doesn't track because, I mean, in wrestling history, the best wrestling nights were Monday Nitro versus Monday Night Raw. And I'm not trying to get into this whole, flashback Attitude Era gimmick, but the reality is that's what drove a lot of wrestling fans to watch both programs at the same time because it was so enjoyable. So in theory, this whole Wednesday night war should have worked, should be the premier night for wrestling fans to watch one company versus another company. But it doesn't seem to track out that way. Maybe fans are different now in 2020. Maybe the wrestling attitude overall has changed. And maybe you're right. Maybe it is a better idea to have them both on different nights. But I'm just saying, as far as history shows, two shows on at the same time should create more of a team dynamic.
Yes.
I'm Team AEW. I'm Team NXT. That's technically what it should be, but it doesn't seem to have panned out that way.
Right. Well, NXT, no matter what night it's on, if a lot of you didn't hear, some of you may remember when Mauro Ranallo didn't do NXT TakeOver 30. They wanted Mauro Ranallo in the building. They don't want simulcast. He didn't do it. Corey Graves took his place. Last week, Mauro Ranallo was not live for NXT. So Stu Bennett, Wade Barrett, took his place. Now, everybody was reporting that night that it's a one-shot deal. I came up on Wednesday Night Dynamite, and I told everybody, I said, nah, I think this is bigger than that. And Stu Bennett was announced for this week as well.
Yeah,
so
I'm okay with that. I'm a little broken up that Mauro won't be a part of WWE anymore, more specifically NXT, because he kind of became the voice of NXT, let's be honest.
The top wrestling commentator, bar none right now. Number one, for people that don't know, it was announced tonight that Mauro Ranallo is officially gone from WWE. Mauro Ranallo went on his Facebook page earlier today, and he said, and I quote, "I appreciate the opportunity. I had to realize my childhood dream of working in sports entertainment, and I wish WWE well in the future. Now I want to direct my focus and devote my time to my other projects and to my mental health, charitable activities, and the well-being of my mother and myself." WWE also posted tonight, and I quote, "WWE and Mauro Ranallo have mutually and amicably agreed to part ways. Mauro's passion and enthusiasm left an indelible and exciting mark with the WWE and its fans, and we wish him the best in his future endeavors." So let me also...
I believe that one. There's a lot of times the WWE says something like, we wish him the best in their future endeavors, and it sounds like, but with Mauro, I kind of believe it. Yeah. Mauro, I think that they genuinely want the guy to do well. Yeah. They understand that the guy's gone through some stuff, and I think he's brought them a lot of money and attention. Even just him doing the Conor McGregor fight from back in the day, stuff like that brings attention to WWE. And other than, the hiccup that he had with JBL back in the day, I've never really heard anything bad about the guy other than that he deals with his own, personal issues.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it's not something stupid. Let me just be open about that. I'm glad it's not a contract issue. I'm glad it's not a money issue. I'm glad it's something that he's looking onward and upward, and he's going on to do things and projects, like he even said, that he's been wanting to do for years. Well, now he has the time to do them. He has an open road ahead of him, WWE behind him, wishing him genuine farewell. I'm good for it. I hope Mauro blows the lid off of whatever projects he's working on. So.
I want to hear that him and Corey Graves, that they got on good terms again also.
Yeah. I forgot about that too.
Because Corey, I think a lot of people on social media blew that a little bit bigger out of proportion. I'm not talking about the first incident. I'm talking about the one where he took a little shot at Mauro for hogging up a lot of the mic time when he had
that.
I think that was much about nothing.
I just thought that was him being a dick.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that was like genuine, like, you know, screw you, you're taking my time on air. I mean, come on. If anybody doesn't need more time on air, it's Corey Graves. And it's not a shot at him, believe it or not. It's that the guy is literally doing everything everywhere. It's like, can you imagine the guy that's working 6 jobs and you decide to take a job from like a job away from him, and he's like, oh, I need that 6th job. You know, it's ridiculous.
Hey, if I can get 6 jobs right now, I'll take them all. I'm greedy, man. I take whatever I can right now.
No.
So, not
but
like.
I wish him the best. I hope he does well. And I'm actually kind of happy that Stu's coming, you know, into WWE.
Yeah, well, that's the next thing. WWE is putting some nice cash on the table to get Stu Bennett to work there full time as an announcer. Yeah. Now, some people are jumping the gun and saying NXT UK. No disrespect to NXT UK. No disrespect to our international friends tuning in.
Sure.
But you don't waste Stu Bennett on NXT UK. You put Stu Bennett on.
You think of it as a waste?
No, I'm saying.
Look, NXT UK is going through some changes right now. Totally, I agree with you. There are some things that are going on with NXT UK. But at this point, don't you need a positive spin? Don't you think a guy like Stu Bennett could give you some popularity?
Right, but I think since Mauro Ranallo is gone from NXT and he's the best announcer out there, I think Stu Bennett is a perfect fit for NXT. US NXT. And I'll tell you something else, something that I mentioned 2 weeks ago. You know, NXT has a little bit of a problem like AEW used to have. AEW, and they still have it, you know, depending on which team is commentating. But one of the things that I said very early on when AEW debuted is, you know, where's the wise ass? Where's the Jesse Ventura, the Jerry the King Lawler, the Corey Graves? Where is the antagonist? Where's the person that roots for the heels? I mean, you had Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur all saying how wonderful everybody was in their matches. So I think 2 weeks into Dynamite, I said I'd love to see Taz doing commentating in AEW. So NXT's had that same problem. You have Mauro Ranallo, Tom Phillips, Nigel McGuinness, Beth Phoenix. You know, they're all like, where's the wisest? Stu Bennett is not your clear-cut antagonist, but, you know, he's so smooth. And
he can be. Yeah. I can see him as an antagonist. He does very well. I mean, even when he was doing stuff with the NWA, he was kind of playing the antagonistic role, and he does fine with it. He's used to throwing out a couple of insults. He's used to busting people's chops a little bit. And like you said, not only does it come off smooth, it comes off very natural for him. Like, I'm sure that's how he kind of like jokes with his friends in the back. You know what I mean? So Stu playing the antagonist role, yeah, you're dead on about that. I could see him being very impressionable for the NXT announce team.
Yeah, and Jason Havlik, that's not bad. Nigel McGuinness, put him with NXT UK.
Yeah,
that's if he wants to go there. You know, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
they do need to grow up, though. NXT UK does need to freshen up.
Yeah.
You know, especially now. So.
Yeah. Jody Moncrief, I think Wade Barrett, Stu Bennett, I think he'll wrestle again. You know, he's a little bit older. I don't know. How old is he? I think he's around 38. I don't know his exact age.
I'm not sure his exact age now.
You know, but he's a little bit older. I mean, he still has years left. But I kind of put him in the same boat as Samoa Joe.
He's still in shape, too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's never really lost his shape. I mean, he's nowhere
40.
near as jacked as he was when he was, you know, in WWE, wrestling every week. But the guy's still big. Like, you could tell he's still working out and keeping swole. So.
Yeah. I watched a little bit of his movie that he did. And,
did you? What'd you think?
You know, I only watched about 5-10 minutes of it. I went online and the video motion because I got Sling TV now. And anybody that has Sling TV has gone through this. I swear on I'm not lying when I say this. If I had $1 for every time Sling has plugged Stu Bennett's movie in the last month, I probably could buy a used car. I could watch Forensic Files. I could watch Fresh Prince. I could watch the news. I could watch baseball. I could watch BET. Well, BET's not on there, but there's other networks. I could watch country music.
That's your fault. You realize that because you watch wrestling, they've attached it to you.
Yeah, I mean, every 2 minutes, John Gold.
I know, but they have dynamic ads, kind of like Hulu does, where the ads are reflective of your area. The ads are reflective of what you previously watched. Amazon has that too, that whole dynamic ad, where it's like, oh, you watched an episode of Game of Thrones.
You remember when you and I fell for that?
Westworld, you know?
You remember when you and I fell for that? For people that want to get a little kick out of it.
Oh, the cups, yes.
When we first debuted merchandise about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, put mugs out there and a few other things. And I remember going on like Weight Watchers website or something. It was a food website. And I look and I'm like, holy there's like DT mugs for sale. Like banners are popping up. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, you know, like even though there was like nothing was being bought and there was no commissions, then you PM'd me that you went on some website and you're like, DT, you're not going to believe it. Your mugs popped up on like Macy's website. I'm like, you got to be kidding. Meanwhile, it was dynamic ads in our computer that was, you know, seeing where we surfed and it would pop up. It happens to me now. I bought
12 years ago, that was kind of like new technology.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't even used to seeing that. Usually it's just some, like, 12 years ago, it was just somebody posting a GIF with a link. Yeah. And that was an ad, you know. But now all of a sudden, at that time, like Google ad choices that up the game. There was a few other commercials that would run ad choices and stuff like that that would have these dynamic ads. So it would study what you search. And then that's when all the conspiracy crazy people went in there. They're watching you. They're watching everything you do. You know, well, that was funny. Yes, I remember that.
This Friday, I might be on Thunderdome. Not sure yet. I had fun yesterday.
I thought you were going to be on this fucking Payback, dude.
I came home. I had to eat, get my notes together, get stuff together, call the missus, and then next thing you know, I got to go in here for Thunderdome. So it was too crazy, especially after I did 4 hours on Friday night. But so I sent an email. I don't know if they got it or not, but I thanked them. I said, I can't do it. Give it to somebody else. The next day, which was like Saturday, I think it was Saturday or that late Friday night, I get an email saying that, welcome to Payback. We'll send you a link. And I'm like, I didn't request Payback. I didn't register for Payback, but they sent me an email. So I said, all right, I'll see what happens. Sure enough, yesterday morning, I get another email with the link, and it says show up at 9:15. And I'm looking at the pay-per-view time and the matches, and I'm like, wait a minute, 9:15, the pay-per-view might be over already. So I posted the screenshot. I came in here at 9:15. I log in. I got in Thunderdome. So I don't know where I was in the building yesterday. I put 2 screenshots online. It was difficult because I don't have my Coral program in here where I could do a really nice screenshot. I just did print screen, and because my monitor is 49 inches, it did a wide shot. But it was fun. It was fun. It was not bad. So you might actually see me Friday.
Well, they book you by like a time slot then, so they don't even have these people there the entire time.
Right.
They only have them there from a certain time to another certain time?
Well, it depends. Because I do know a few people who, you know, because people have been sending me a lot of feedback about it, you know, especially with some of the things that have been going on. And some people have been there for the entire time. So if you're energetic and you're interactive and you're being expressive and you look good and everything looks great, they probably keep you longer. I think, you know, some people, they will rotate here and there. But no, it was good. I had a lot of fun.
Very good.
It was only 15 minutes, but so now let's talk about the second biggest story tonight. And the reason why I say it's the second biggest story, not the first, is because I think a deal will be worked out. Or, you know, I think people are, you know, I mean, I'm not going to start posting the photos, but people immediately superimposing Brock Lesnar on AEW's, you know, welcome, he's all elite. You jumping the gun, people, but here's the deal. Brock Lesnar, and I wrote this formula on the preview for tonight. So now it might start making a little bit more sense. If you listen to Keith Lee's intro music closely, it sounds like Brock Lesnar. It almost identical to Brock Lesnar. But I think the formula is Brock Lesnar plus free agent equals Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman guy. That's what I think it is. I think, and I'm serious, I think Roman Reigns was ready to return in a very limited capacity if people haven't figured that out.
Right.
And at the same time, Brock Lesnar's contract was expiring. They have not come up with a new deal yet. Brock Lesnar was the highest paid person on the roster. So, you know, you have to work out a pretty big deal. So they have not come to a new deal yet. So Brock Lesnar right now is technically a free agent. But I personally think that Brock Lesnar's free agency is the reason why WWE put Paul Heyman with Roman Reigns.
And that makes sense. Yeah, of course, because they can still use Paul Heyman to be the voice piece, and then now they can actually ease Roman Reigns into the transition of being a heel while it could still make sense. You know, I kind of quoted this from Sunday as well when I was talking with John on Payback, but I thought Rosenberg had a really good take on it. He's like, seeing Roman Reigns out there with Paul Heyman felt to him like when he saw Andre the Giant come out with Bobby Heenan. And it wasn't necessarily the moment, although it was a great moment. It was a very shocking moment when I was a kid watching that too. But it was the premise of, here's this big superstar for the company that's a huge baby face, and just by pairing him with a heel manager, you've automatically made him heel. And that's when all the questions rose up about Andre. Why would you join Bobby Heenan? He's a scumbag. He's a weasel. And the same can be said for the Roman Reigns-Paul Heyman dynamic. Nobody knows where it came from. How they hooked up is a complete mystery. Obviously, people figure that it happened when Roman Reigns was off and while Paul Heyman was off. And now you could sit there and transition that at the storyline, and then Roman can, over time, probably explain, or Paul Heyman can explain why they became, you know, partners together other than just business and stuff like that. And at the same time, Brock Lesnar gets to go back to Canada and, you know, hunt down some deer, some elk.
Yeah.
Some
He's got his money saved.
Oh, yeah. He's going to go home to his playmate wife, and yeah.
I think they work out a deal. We're still in COVID. They're still, you know, they haven't given up on Drew McIntyre yet. I think Drew McIntyre will keep that belt until November. I hope by November we have fans back. You know, my original prediction with Survivor Series is the pay-per-view where you have a decent number of fans finally back. I don't know if they'll go that far, but, you know, right now with so much going on, with Raw Underground, and you have Dominic Mysterio now, and you got this Retribution, which we'll get into a little bit later. But there's so many things going on right now. Drew McIntyre doesn't have to be the focal point of Raw. You know, tonight you have Drew McIntyre. They're selling that he's got a hairline fracture, and he's pretty much nowhere to be seen. And the show did not suffer in any way, shape, or form. You know, no man is an island right now, so they can get away with things like that. But you know, I think they work out a deal with Brock Lesnar. Maybe Brock Lesnar takes another 6 months off. Maybe Brock Lesnar says, "Look, we'll work out a deal in 2021." But for people out there that think, you know, he's going to show up in AEW. I saw people. I don't
think they're ever going to throw out that kind of money for Brock. I mean, even if they have him for as little dates as WWE did, I just don't see them being so lucrative that they can afford somebody like Brock Lesnar on what AEW is balancing on right now. Yeah. That just seems like if you get Brock Lesnar, you're putting like a titanic amount of weight on the back of a broken ship.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that AEW is broken, but financially, COVID has broken everybody. Let's be honest. Yeah. This pandemic hasn't been good for any wrestling, period. From the independents all the way up to the top of WWE. It's had a catastrophic effect on everything, even the audience. So when you sit there and even toy with the idea that they're going to try and sign this 7-figure guy, minimum 7-figure guy, you're really toying with that idea because it's more of a fantasy at this point than it could ever be a reality. Not saying that the Khans don't have the money to do it. Of course they do. But why would they? Why would they do that now when they can't even reap the benefits of it? It just wouldn't make sense.
Name me 3 guys in AEW that could go toe-to-toe with Brock Lesnar. I mean, Kenny Omega... Even though I'd love to see a little dynamic with Luchasaurus a little bit, but seriously, you don't
Brody
have
Lee
that.
Yeah. Brody Lee is one that I could see. Like if they wanted to pair those 2 guys up, I think Brody Lee in the program that he is within AEW versus a newly removed Brock Lesnar could at least be an interesting physical dynamic. I don't know how far they could go with it, but it would be interesting.
Yeah.
But if somebody's going to tell me Cody Rhodes, I'm going to laugh myself in hysterics.
Yeah.
So, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Other than Brody Lee, who do you got? What, Jack Hagar? I mean.
Look, it's, what it comes down to? It comes down to that I have...
Oh, Brian Cage. Yeah, Brian Cage. Thank you. You don't see Brian Cage? Brian
maybe
Cage
a little, but, I mean, how long would that feud last?
I don't know. Like, you're just saying who could have a viable match with them.
Well, viable match, there's a bunch of people that could, but as far as having like a decent feud for a month or 2 or, leading to a pay-per-view, I don't think AEW fans would allow Brock Lesnar to... show up once every 3-4 weeks. You know what I mean? I just think Brock Lesnar is he's not a good fit for AEW.
Right.
He's not a good fit. There's some people out there, just, it's a good example. A lot of Japanese wrestlers that come to WWE.
Sure.
There's a track record that WWE doesn't utilize Japanese wrestlers as good as American wrestlers. You could go through, a lot of the wrestlers that came through NXT. That, Hideo Itami is the first person that comes to mind. You see some other names. Now, they have done a great job with Io Shirai. They've done a great job with Asuka. It's not that they don't know what to do with any Japanese wrestlers, but notoriously, we would get international stars would come in, mostly Japanese, and WWE would not really know. I remember Kenzo Suzuki also. That turned into a comedy act with Hiroko almost immediately.
Which is kind of sad because the idea of it when it first happened was very interesting. The Japanese shogun type royalty was very interesting. Having the geisha wife was very interesting. But then they paired him up with Kozlov, and, well, that was that.
You were talking about the audiences have been affected also.
Sure.
I don't think people really paid attention that close to the ratings. It's not a big deal, but, people, I think, focused on the overnight rating and not the overall rating. But I was very curious to see what SmackDown's rating was this past Friday, especially since the convention was over with everybody blamed lower ratings on conventions. And, the week before, Roman Reigns, he wasn't on SmackDown the week before. The week before, SmackDown had 2,168,000 viewers. 2,168,000. This time around, they did 2,180,000. That means Roman Reigns, after showing up at SummerSlam, hyping up all week about the contract signing, and Vince McMahon, which was just dopey, teasing the contract signing all night long, they gained a whopping 12,000 viewers from the week before. So not even Roman Reigns' return after all of this time didn't generate number 12,000. I mean, let's be a little fair too. I mean, I don't do demos. I mean, for me, sure, I'd be a little concerned if the majority of my audience were 50 and above, which is how it started off here on YouTube. Now it's fallen into 25 to 45 is pretty much the main demo. But, for me, I want to get as many people to tune in as possible. Because you have a lot of people tuning in. Those are all potential subscribers, customers with wrestling. So WWE was number one in a lot of demos that night. But you look at the overall number, they only went up 12,000 viewers. Nobody talked about that. I was shocked.
I would have never expected that to happen. I mean, it was such an amazing show. Everybody watched it.
I have nothing but love for the Big Show. I mean, people, it's been tuning in to me since the 90s. I got a soft spot for Big Show for real. But
my favorite scene with the Big Show was when he was in, what was that one TV show with the crazy cop that was shooting everybody, and Big Show was an informant, and he caught him on the toilet. Oh, what the hell? Happy.
Someone in chat will know. Mothra?
Happy. No, Happy.
Happy?
Show Happy from Sci-Fi, yeah.
Oh. My favorite Big Show moment is him on the casket. Sorry, but him on the casket was just hilarious.
Big Show and Big Boss Man.
Yeah.
My brother.
Yeah, I'll say this. I have a soft spot for Big Show, but when I saw that announcement, all I kept, just like what you said about all these crazy ratings about it and viewership and how big it is and all this stuff, I kept thinking about Diamond Dallas Page from the Monday Night Wars when they found out that TNT was canceling, they didn't want to have Nitro anymore. And he's on the Monday Night War. He's like, but it's your biggest show. And that just kept ringing through my head tonight when I saw, after all of this hype, Big Show's show will be canceled. They're not picking it up for a second season.
I mean, without getting into conspiracy theories and stuff like that, it's been proven that there are bot accounts, that there are bot reviews on everything from IMDb to Rotten Tomatoes to Netflix. So the idea that the Big Show was even anywhere near that big and it wasn't a paid bot program or people doesn't surprise me at all. So
shout out to whatever his name is. Nothing against Keith Lee, but to go from wrestling RKO to I guess I don't know, to Seth Rollins.
Nothing against Keith Lee, but to go from wrestling Randy Orton to Dolph Ziggler.
Oh, Dolph Ziggler, okay.
QT Marshall do a podcast with Brad Shafir.
I think you're being a little bit too hard on Keith Lee. I mean, he's only on the show for 1 week. I think people realize this is his second Raw, but he's been on the main roster for 7 days. He already has a win against Randy Orton. He has a win against Ziggler. I mean, he had a BS finish last week. I mean, the funny thing is that people are still focused on the fact that he's wearing a top. He wore a top.
Come on. Did you not see his grass skirt from yesterday? That was pretty rough, man.
Like Samba Simba-ish.
Not good, man. It was not good.
Look, they're toying with his look a little bit, but I have no problem with him wearing a top or a shirt or something. I mean, people are like, oh, Vince, doesn't like his stomach and this and that. That's just for Otis and others. The guy's on the main roster. I mean, Kevin Owens has never revealed wrestled without a shirt, as far as I could remember on WWE programming. If that's
even
the biggest
WWE, though, he was never really a big shirtless guy.
Right.
It wasn't like he was in ECCW or ROH or CZW that he was ever topless. Don't get me wrong. There's been a few matches where he hasn't had a shirt, but not regularly. Kevin Owens has always been a guy that kind of covered his midriff.
I have no problem with anybody who wrestles. I mean, technically, look at Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio is wearing a top. You know, I mean,
Sure.
I don't. All signs seem to appear that Keith Lee has a bright future ahead on the main roster, as long as, you know, it's in his hands, obviously. And who knows, by WrestleMania next year, Keith Lee and Big E might be heavyweight champions. You know, I mean, obviously, Kofi winning the belt, first black WWE heavyweight champion. That's a historic moment. But, you know, now, you know, you have other wrestlers of color that you don't even have to think about their color, that you say, yeah, I could see that person being heavyweight champion. I think people need to take a little chill pill. You know, yeah, his music change was awful.
I don't think it's necessarily anything to do with Keith Lee's color, though, DT. I think a lot of the problems, it's more than just his attire. Even the ring music that he comes out to, that butt rock, as everybody calls it, it's not flattering either. See, here's the thing.
But what I'm saying is that.
Okay, go ahead.
What I'm saying, let me just clear this up a little bit before anybody gets upset. What I'm saying is that Kofi, I don't think, and anybody, you know, says otherwise, you know, I'm not saying that nobody thought about it, but a couple of years before, if anybody said one day Kofi's going to be WWE heavyweight champion, I think we would all been like, yeah, okay. But when Kofi won, it was history. It was history. You know, you remember Shad, God rest his soul, and MVP tearing up and crying. A lot of people cried that night. It was history. It felt like you're breaking a barrier. My point is that Keith Lee is so talented that you remember when Kofi won, and the one thing that kept floating around the net is they give Kofi the title also because he's black, and to finally break that stigma that WWE's never had a black heavyweight champion, even though I know about The Rock. So my point is, with Keith Lee, he is so uber talented that his color has no bearing whatsoever on his future. That
Fair
guy,
enough.
Barring injury or
you're a white guy or a Latin guy or an Asian guy, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, right?
Speed, much talent. Yeah, it doesn't matter what.
Right, it doesn't matter.
Your skin color he is. I think the point of contention, though, that a lot of people have, which is why they're kind of poo-pooing on this Keith Lee run already, is because of the silly mistakes that they've done with music, because of the silly debuting wardrobe. You know, not for nothing, but WWE is supposed to debut guys at their best. And they've had a real bad track record over the last few big superstars that they brought up from NXT to kind of just weasel it out there. And I think that people expect more for Keith Lee because they can see more in Keith Lee. And I think that's why there's so much like, what the hell? Why are you dropping the ball? At a time that WWE needs fucking heroes, at a time that WWE needs somebody to step out of the crowd and bring people back in to watch this product, they're going to half-ass it with one of their blue-chip prospects. Does not bode well for WWE. Looks really amateur, looks really B-roll, you know. And I'm sorry, Keith Lee deserves better, regardless of his skin color, regardless of his background. The guy's talented, the guy's got ability, and the guy's got size. And he's a new guy for the company. And it's like, don't get me wrong, Randy Orton did the Graces. It was a fucking wonderful match. I'm sorry, I know I'm cursing. I get passionate
It's
sometimes.
okay. No, you're allowed to curse.
I loved Randy Orton and Keith Lee. I thought that was fine. I know they're going to do more with it. Dolph Ziggler and Keith Lee, come on.
That was just a blow-off match.
Yeah, that was just like he's just cleaning his shoes, you know. But for the most part, you can see Keith Lee in big feuds. It's not like people look at Keith Lee and go, oh, this guy's a mid-card for life. Oh, this guy's an opener. No, you look at Keith Lee and you're like, no, there's something there.
Yeah.
There's something there with this guy where you can actually see championship material down the road. So when they open up with Keith Lee and they're already making bad decisions with his music, even though they had some kind of disagreement with CFOS and blah, 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 something in the behind the scenes with that one, shouldn't matter to the fan. Doesn't matter to the fan. To the fan, they want this guy exemplified as a giant, and they're not doing that.
Right. Well, good thing is it's only been a week, so hopefully they could get some of this ironed out sooner than later. So, very quickly, somebody sent this super chat in, and I would love to know if anybody actually has this answer. But the big doorman on Raw Underground, what's his name again? Because I'm drawing a blank. He was
for Hideo, the ninja bodyguard, but no, I forgot what his name was.
Yeah, I can't remember his name offhand, but we've talked about him a little bit. So, but no, that guy. Oh, Babatunde, Babatund, is that right? So, yeah, it's. I'm waiting. There's like an 8-second delay, so some people are just. I trust we'll get the name soon. Some people out there are just guessing. So, but. Before we talk about Raw, I want to. Oh, it's Jordan Babatund. I think it's something like that. I kind of remember the name now a little bit. Yeah. So when people saying Jordan, yeah, I think you're all right there. Babatund, yeah. He was on the Minnesota Vikings. Absolutely. Yeah, I remember talking around in the show that he, like Brock Lesnar, and tried out for the Vikings, and I think he got cut after a couple of games. And look, they're good to do something with him down the line. So, before we go any further, I want to mention this because I know, I already noticed not one person even mentioned this guy's name tonight. But somebody died in the world of wrestling and entertainment. And I think some people out there will be absolutely surprised when I show you where you probably will remember him best and don't even realize it. His name is Rick Drason. He died at the age of 76. He was a pro wrestler, I think early 70s. He actually had a wrestling school, and I believe he trained Luchasaurus and Marco Stunt. They came out of his school. So again, this is a guy that you would think that everybody out there would have mentioned him today. Now, I didn't see anybody mention his passing, but where you all may best remember him, and I took a couple of photos, and I'm going to put it up over here right now, you will remember him. Mish, when you were growing up, I mean, you're a little bit younger than me, but I know a lot of people in the chat will relate to this, but how many of you out there, when you were young, used to watch episodes of The Incredible Hulk with Bill Bixby, Lou Ferrigno?
Right.
Did you ever see it when you were growing up?
Sure. Yeah,
okay.
I used to watch it all the time.
Bill Bixby was the nerdy scientist, whatever, and don't make me angry. You won't like me when I'm angry. And then when he gets angry, his eyes turn green, and then he turns into Lou Ferrigno.
Right.
Well, a lot of people may not know this. From Bill Bixby to Lou Ferrigno, there's a middle guy. There was a middle guy. And believe it or not, the middle guy was Rick Drason. This is actually, let me pull him up. This is actually Rick Drason on The Incredible Hulk. Let's see if we can pull him up. Why is it not pulling up? Let me see. Oh, there it goes. There you go. That is Rick Drason right there. And if I go through a few more of these, when Bill Bixby, right before he would turn into the Incredible Hulk, we always thought that was Lou Ferrigno. Everybody always thought that was Lou Ferrigno. That was the episode where he got stuck in the middle. He was like half Bill Bixby, half Lou Ferrigno, and the girl was trying to tend to him and take care of him. That's not Lou Ferrigno. That's actually Rick Drason. So we go a little bit further. That's Rick Drason.
Huh.
You would have thought that was Bill Bixby. That's them together. That's him from about 10 years ago. So I actually found this from a magazine. Let's put it closer up. But that's how they would do it. That's how they would put the makeup on. And when you watched The Incredible Hulk, you always thought it was Bill Bixby. And then when he had the green eyes, they put makeup on Bixby. And that was
really
him.
Similar. Yeah, really similar looking.
Yeah, I mean, it's eerie.
Once they put the latex on, a little bit of the makeup, man, Lou Ferrigno and Rick Drason look pretty similar.
Yeah, you look at that. I mean, I know the pictures are a little bit small right now, but you go back and you look. Whenever Bill Bixby would be turning into the Incredible Hulk, and right before he became full-blown Lou Ferrigno, that was not Bill Bixby with the makeup, and that was not Lou Ferrigno. It was this guy, believe it or not. So it's crazy. It's crazy. If you do a little further checking for anybody out there that was into the Incredible Hulk, it'll blow your mind. So I just wanted to mention him because he did wrestle for a little while early in his career, but I never knew that. And he was a wrestling trainer too, at a wrestling school. And I'm sure by now Luchasaurus and some others have paid tribute to him. So, rest in peace. But so you want to get into Raw a little bit, and then we'll get into a couple other news tidbits and get out of here. Now, everyone, again, just remember last Sunday did 3 podcasts. Monday was 4. Wednesday last week was 5. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and today, and tomorrow, and Wednesday. So it's just nonstop. So we're trying to make these a little bit shorter, but give you more shows. So, but Raw tonight, very hectic. I think would be the right way to say it. We had a little tribute opening up to the passing of Bullet Bob Armstrong. I paid a little tribute to him on Friday. Randy Orton comes out to start the show, and he basically runs down Drew McIntyre, and he felt that it was disrespectful that Drew McIntyre almost offered him a match last week in pity. But Randy Orton has no problem going through hurdles to get what he wants.
Right.
Keith Lee interrupts him, and it was just odd because, like I said yesterday, what was your favorite match from Payback yesterday and your least favorite?
My favorite was actually kind of a tie, but I think the women's match with Shayna and Nia.
Okay.
And Sasha and Bailey. I knew where it was going, and for what it's worth, I kind of enjoy the idea of Shayna getting gold, and I knew that they were going to be wacky about it, and Nia's going to be, it's going to be Kane and Daniel Bryan all over again, maybe even an appearance by Dr. Shelby eventually, who knows. And Sasha, while Sasha's been on a horrendous losing streak, and she's not very believable sometimes, there's something that's happening with her, which is interesting to me, is her relationship, her dynamic with Bailey is getting better. So when she's screaming at Bailey, help me, I'm drowning, and Bailey's can't do it, it actually looks like Sasha is being pained in those moments. And I really, really enjoy that. I enjoy the fact that for whatever reason now, years later, she's actually showing this level of emotion and acting in the ring, and it's great. And, of course, the finish to that match was phenomenal. I loved Shayna taking them both out with the double, and then Bailey being the one to make the tap out. Fantastic. It was definitely one of my favorites. The worst match?
I don't think anything was bad, but your least favorite, that's kind of the polite way of saying it.
Man, I don't know. Maybe, I think yesterday I threw it on the IIconics and the Riott Squad.
Okay.
I might have also thrown it on Apollo Crews and Bobby Lashley.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, those weren't fantastic. And I mean, even I don't know why. What was your favorite and least favorite from last night?
Two things quickly, though. What's up, Nathan? And I blocked a few people just now. I will tell everybody this right now. And believe me when I tell you, I'm not trying to stir things up. But if some cronies start going into the chat and bitching and complaining about changes on Monday and being sent by certain other podcasters, trust me when I tell you, I will not be doing a show on Tuesdays. All right, so I'm just telling you right now. I know some people are really butthurt and upset, but the thing is, it was more of a technological reason why things changed and not an attitude reason. Don't make it the attitude reason. I'm just telling you right now. All right, I bust my fucking ass. Curse number one tonight. I bust my fucking ass. Curse number two. I bust my fucking ass doing all this stuff.
I'm not trying to fill anybody's slot, so I hope people don't take that.
A lot of people enjoyed the show last week, and that's why I brought Mish back.
Going the show for 16 years, on and off with the show. I mean, either doing VOs and commercials and web work, or just coming on the show as a guest host or something like that.
You don't have to explain yourself.
Yeah, but I should because you know what? I'm probably the only person that hasn't said anything about this.
Yeah,
and I'm not trying to take anything away. I'm not trying to ruin anything. You know what? I like doing the shows with Don Tony. I like doing the shows with Kev. I've liked this show for 16 plus years. You know what I mean? I'm not really coming from a place. I mean, I understand that on Monday nights, 99.9% of the shows don't have me on it. Of course not.
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm not here, and it's not like I haven't been here. So I just hope that people don't take it that way. You know? So.
I'm just saying, because I know where some of these people come from, and look, I understand people are defending their friends and standing up, and that's fine. But you want to push my buttons, all right? I'll do it Trump style. I will push it back 1,000 times more, and you see what happens. Seriously, don't fuck with me. It doesn't bother me. None of this bothers me, because I know, and I've always said this since 1997, and I started my wrestling hotline in 1997. The first thing that I made sure was that when I did my hotline, I did not have to depend on anybody else. If I was the last person on the face of the earth, I knew that I could record, upload, put everything together, post it everywhere, send it out to places, try to get advertising, try to pull this stuff, edit, upload, codecs. I did everything myself, because I never wanted to be in a situation where I had to depend on people and they weren't there. All right, so I could go on with no problem. All right, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I'm going to say I don't need nobody. All right, Mish don't need nobody either. There's a lot of people out there that don't need nobody. JD don't need nobody. Jason doesn't need nobody. The point is that if you want to start playing that game, I know how to play the game. I've been doing this for 23 years. I'll play that game. I'll go 2005 Don Tony, and you won't believe where you would see, like the pay-per-view. They didn't see it coming. You have no idea. You'll hurt people a lot more than you think you're helping them. So, anyway. Jeremy, nothing happened, man. Just a couple of trolls that I just wanted to just set straight. So, if they really care about certain people, take my advice. Shut the fuck up. So, anyway. My favorite match yesterday was between the main event, and I think that was inflated a little bit because I was in Thunderdome during it. But I actually enjoyed Dominik and Ray versus Rollins and Murphy.
I don't know why that blinked my mind. I think that was my favorite match yesterday, too. That was the tie for Shayna and Sasha. So, yeah. Go on. I did the father-son dynamic.
No, the match that I disliked the most was Randy Orton versus Keith Lee. Nothing wrong with the match. Nothing wrong with the finish. The only thing is that the pay-per-view was called Payback. And it felt like, what does Keith Lee need payback for? What did he need payback for? And when he cut his promo tonight...
What did Randy Orton need payback for?
Right, exactly. And when Keith Lee cut his promo tonight, and he's acting like he thinks he's a good friend of Drew McIntyre, I'm like, as soon as I heard that, I thought of last week, when he came out to confront Randy for the punch steal to Drew. Like last week, you set up Payback against Randy Orton to pay back Randy Orton for what he did to Drew. And then a day later, he's on the mic. Randy, I think I'm close with Drew McIntyre. And I'm like, that match had no business being on Payback. Aleister Black versus Kevin Owens should have been on Payback.
Yes, I agree with that. I even thought when Thursday rolled around and we were doing the predictions, I even thought that was going to be one of those matches that was announced because it would have made sense. Because, Aleister Black came on Kevin Owens' show and then he got blasted out. But, yeah, I don't know if I can't say that was a bad match. And the finish was so strong because it made Keith Lee look so good that while it didn't fit with the motif of Payback,
yeah,
a lot of those matches didn't.
yeah.
As a matter of fact, where was Retribution? Wasn't that the running gag?
Well, that's why I made this little creative banner today. If people look at it up close, I actually put missing August 28th, Orlando, Florida. You know, height, weight, put very, very small people. For eyes, instead of putting the eye color, I wrote 2 just to be a jerk. Sure. And as far as being a jerk, Big Trips in the chat, strike 2. Just telling you, strike 2. I was on the Hugh Easy podcast. So, you know, like I said, you want to play the game. In the end, the people that you love are going to be the ones getting burned. And you can blame it on a few people, because I will. So, but anyway, so I made this today during my lunch hour. I put them on milk cartons. And for the people that can't read what it says, on the milk carton it says, have you seen either of these young men? For no logical reason, these men, along with other members of Retribution, decided to disappear from multiple WWE events. If you have seen them, please contact Don Tony of The Don Tony Show. Thank you. And then the middle one, you know, actually has WWE's address in Orlando, Florida. And I made milk cartons. You know, I was a little bored today. But the thing is, you know, Retribution didn't do nothing with SmackDown. They didn't do nothing with Payback. And I said this last night. Huh?
Do you think that the rumors are true, that they kind of pulled them from the political climate that we're in right now?
No.
Do you think that has anything to do with it? Okay.
No, I think they just
realized it wasn't going anywhere good.
Yeah, I mean, look, we got them tonight, and we'll get to that soon. But the thing is, like I said yesterday, they should have at least, whether it was Friday or last night, they should have shown a security camera of Retribution trying to get into the building. And you see the WWE roster with bats or whatever you want to have, and they're chasing Retribution down the street. Could have done a 30-second clip with the security camera showing the roster chasing them away. That would have explained, what, they don't work weekends? You know, they didn't show up Friday night or Sunday night for what? It makes zero sense. And it's just really moronic. And once again, today, Retribution shows up on Raw. They did tonight what you said on Breakfast Soup last Wednesday when we did it. Yeah, you said that Retribution needs to be beating up more heels, and they beat up Andrade tonight. Even though Andrade may be turning babyface, but they also beat up Zelina.
They beat up Zelina too. Like they went all out. I will say, you know, I'm glad. I'm glad that they made it all encompassing, instead of just being some kind of generic heel faction with, you know, black knee-high socks, you know, so.
But once again, the WWE roster, who is in the back, they don't come out to try to chase Retribution. And what's
right? Like, see, let me ask you this. Like, once upon a time, you know, usually right around Survivor Series 2, there's a lot of that Team Raw, Team SmackDown kind of unity, but it never seems like that exists at any other point in time during the show other than Survivor Series when they have that SmackDown versus Raw match. So it doesn't really not gel with the fact that they're not going to come out and risk their ass in order to fight Retribution, because why should they? It's not November, you know. So.
You know who's the stupidest part of tonight? And I love that Adam Pearce is now a regular character on TV. Yes. I love Postman Pearce on Friday. I loved all that. But if you go back and you watch Raw tonight, Adam Pearce is in the back with a handful of security guards telling them to do their job and this and that and blah, 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 blah. And if they let Retribution in, you know, whatever, fine. After Retribution showed up and Adam Pearce read them the riot act, they were in the exact position, the exact area where they were earlier. Why weren't they around the building?
That's good. That's good.
I noticed it. Yeah. They were in the back, and then when Adam Pearce is reading them the riot act, They're still in the back in the same area. What did you do? Did the Retribution crazy glue their shoes to the floor? It's just like I said. I know I'm nitpicking, but
it's not. We shouldn't.
It's not.
I mean, granted, we do kind of look a little bit deeper sometimes at some of this, as do probably most of the people that even listen and watch these shows. But we shouldn't be able to catch that. I mean, how difficult is it to turn 180 degrees and just do it from a different camera angle? It's some real low-level fixes here. We're not talking about crazy like, oh, well, they got to spend thousands of dollars on these new cameras in order to get that. No, we're just turn the camera a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It doesn't make sense. I mean, it's, they show up on SmackDown and the wrestlers come out to beat them down. Not one, and this is storyline, not one person tries to pull a mask off.
Right.
Then they show up in security, not one security person. And then even towards the end, when they got that chick, I don't know why they keep putting her on the show. What's her name? I can't even remember her name. No, the blonde, the actress that was from The Bachelor or something.
Yeah.
They made her a repeated character. I mean, they show Retribution, and the funny thing, was that the Ninjas, or was that Retribution? Demi Burnett. Thank you. Finally, Larry Rovers. Demi Burnett. I didn't know if that was the Ninjas or if it was them. And they let her run away. Like they turning into like Michael Myers. Michael Myers would never run. He would just methodically just walk. Like, and here's another thing. I'm glad I remembered. The last we saw of Retribution tonight was that they were still in the building.
Yes.
The announcers even said they're still in the building. They went off the air and never resolved that issue. They went off the air saying that Retribution was still in the building.
Let's hold the door on this one because there might be a WWE YouTube video that pops out with what happened after Raw. Come on now. We know how this game is played. They've done it many times before. Now they got you on the hook, and you're like, what happened to Retribution? Oh, God. The WWE YouTube
that's bad. That's bad.
It's going to happen.
Anna the Gay Banana says the Hurt Business need to go out of business.
Preach.
I like the Hurt Business, man. I like that Shelton is getting some time. MVP is fitting really well. Lashley, how many weeks in a row have I been telling all of you I want to see Lashley with gold? Maybe not the gold but I'm
not a fan. I'm not a fan of Lashley. I think Lashley was doing good with Lana there.
Really?
I liked him with Lana. You know what? I got to agree with my co-host on this one with Joe. Lana and Lashley looked like they belonged together. And their relationship quirks, while it was WWE campy, it still looked good. And them being in bed together looked good. They looked like a couple you would expect to see. The Hurt Locker, the Hurt Business, whatever you want to call them, MVP, I think he's a fantastic manager. I think he's doing a real good job as a manager. He's a great shit talker. Outside of the ring, he's visceral. He's constantly on his toes. He's constantly making comments. He's a very old school type heel where he's always barking in the ref's ear, barking at people, yelling at the ring. I mean, we've been so pasteurized by watching these lame valets and a lot of these lame managers over the years that we forget what it's like to have somebody jump around the ring and be a Jimmy Hart or be a Armando Estrada. Like MVP has the makings of being a great manager. Keep him out of the ring. Keep him the fuck out of the ring, please. It's done. Hang it up. Accept the fact that you've evolved in your own personal life, MVP, and go on to being a great manager. Because as far as wrestling goes, I'm sorry, just hang it up, dude. You're not wowing the world. You're never going to be that guy. You have other talents. Work on those. Utilize those. Because the ones in the ring, they're done. And as far as Shelton Benjamin goes, another guy who's been given a bad coin. A talented guy from the days of Charlie Haas to even Gabe. You know, like the guy has always been a talented wrestler, but as far as charisma, as far as working the mic, not his better talents in the ring, you know, or not his better talents. But as far as physically, Shelton Benjamin's always been a winner. Yeah. But he's a guy that needs somebody like an MVP as a mouthpiece. Bobby Lashley is a guy who needs somebody like an MVP as a mouthpiece. But I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of them together. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because it just seems like, okay, for example, to give you an idea of how much they're trying to shove this down our throats. So the Raw Underground with Bobby Lashley happened on Monday of last week. They showed it that Monday, and then they showed it again on that Monday before it went off the air. So they showed it twice. They showed it on Friday once, I believe. They showed it on Payback twice, and then they showed it again on Monday tonight. I mean, come on. Like, how many times do you need to shove that same angle down our throats? That's not helping. Yeah. If anything, that makes me kind of disgusted at a point. It's like, okay, we get it. Unless I've just completely missed 2 weeks of this show, you know, there's no reason to show it 7-8 times over the course of a week. It's not necessary. I understand that they want to push this group, and I think, like I said, I think MVP is a great managerial role for this group, but doing stuff like that is not endearing. Nobody wants to be a part of another WWE project where they just shove everything down our throats in order to try and gain legitimacy for Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin and MVP.
Right. I tell you, I agree with almost everything you said. I just, you know, they're legit. You know, like, don't get me wrong. I'm not a huge fan of the Hurt Business. I think they fit really nicely on Raw. Absolutely love that they fit nicely on Raw. I didn't like the Lana Lashley storyline at all. It was just, you know, the way they did it with Rusev was just, in my opinion, just awful.
Well, that was cornball, but once they were past that, when it was just Lana being with Bobby Lashley, I loved that. Yeah. I thought she was good for him. Once again, proving that Lana is a better valet, a better manager than she is an in-ring worker. Yeah. Nobody's going to ever deny how amazing she was when she was with Rusev as the ravishing Russian. But now that she's ditched the accent, I don't know, man. I miss the accent. Can I say that? I miss her in her Russian accent.
Ravishing Russian. I don't know. I like the Hurt Business. I think Lashley is legit. It blows my mind that it took over a decade for him to get that title again. Yes, he's been gone for many years, don't get me wrong. Right. But he physically, he's a beast. He actually could work damn well. I mean, I think back of his Impact Wrestling stuff, you know, where it was excellent. He can go. We're in the age where we have way too many titles. Just way too many titles. And the fact that in 1 week Breezango got belts and Lashley finally wins the U.S. title should never have taken that long. So I personally think, you know, the Raw Underground stuff I like in moderation, but when you have the Hurt Business, you know, literally doing what they're doing at the end, and they're just laying everybody out, and they're laying on top of each other. You know, like, you know, yeah, Riddick Moss, maybe you give him a little bit. Marina Shafir, you know, and others, you want to give him a little bit. But to turn around and then make the whole focal point of so much time, and it's Ricochet and Apollo Crews or you know, whoever else, you know, getting jobbed out, Cedric Alexander. Well, it's, I mean, like, I don't know.
Apollo Crews, like, the whole premise of the feud with Apollo Crews is because he said, no, I don't want to join.
Right.
So they made it, they punished him for it, and they kept going on. It's like, if this angle or this gimmick wants to become next level, they're going to have to take out somebody next level. Apollo Crews is not above Bobby Lashley. Never was, not in my opinion. You know, was he above MVP? Yeah, but that's only because of the age and the rust on MVP and stuff like that. Even with Shelton Benjamin, I would look at Shelton Benjamin and Apollo Crews as almost equals. almost equals. So it's like you're working with a group that's trying to dominate people that they believably can be dominated. They become a better heel stable when they dominate somebody through underhanded tactics and through unity that nobody believes that they can dominate. So here you have a supposedly strong stable doing weak person things. Yeah. That's why I don't like it. That's why I don't believe in it.
I will say this. I don't think they need to add any members to it. I think the 3 with MVP is enough. In fact, I think they need a few more factions where there's 3 or 4 people. You know, to have the Viking Raiders have to team up with Cedric. You know, talk about randomness. I mean,
I know you said not adding anybody, but let me throw this out there. What about a girl? Do you think that if they added a girl to that group, would that kind of complete the unit there?
No, you want to know something? You know why I don't? And this might come across as sexist, and it's not meant that way.
No, I'm just asking.
But this is loads of testosterone. You know what I mean? Like, this is like the guys' club. You know what I'm saying? The Hurt business. Like, I could see maybe a Bianca Belair or someone else joining with a real nasty attitude. I would have even thought way back when maybe somebody like a Shayna Basler or somebody. You don't have to be black. But the thing is that this is loads of testosterone. And when MVP got Lashley away from Lana, I think the group is better being away from women, period. It's not meant to be sexist, but that group, it's like the Four Horsemen. The Four Horsemen, you know, even when they had the Monday Night Wars, you know, they had Miss Elizabeth, and it just didn't feel right. You know, the Four Horsemen were better with J.J. Dillon and nobody else.
Right. Fair enough.
But, so, we now have tonight a couple of qualifying matches. 3 matches. Originally, it was supposed to be Rey Mysterio versus Rollins, but Rey, they're saying, got injured yesterday. I don't know if that's actually true. So
isn't it believable either way?
Oh yeah,
I mean, no offense to Rey, but you know he's made out of peanut brittle sometimes. So.
Yeah. They showed his daughter today. Yes. We'll talk about her in a minute. I got to. Did I take a picture? I don't think I did. I don't want to get any hornballs. She's 19 though. She's 19. Oh. Yeah. But you know, 3 qualifying matches: Dominic Mysterio versus Seth Rollins. You had Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens and Keith Lee versus Dolph Ziggler. The winner of those 3 matches would have a 3-way, a triple threat at the end of the night. The winner of the triple threat faces Drew McIntyre at Clash of Champions. So first match we get, first Randy Orton comes out, cuts his promo, gets interrupted by Keith Lee. Then Dolph Ziggler hits Keith Lee from behind. I don't think anybody in their right mind thought there was any chance of Dolph Ziggler advancing, but I thought they had a pretty damn good match. They went 11 minutes, you know, so Keith Lee right off the bat, yes, we think of Dominik Dijakovic, Fight Forever, had long matches, is great. There's not a lot of big guys that can have 10, 15-minute matches, you know, without having big loads of, you know, time where they're laid out on the mat.
Right.
And here's what I loved about it, too. Dolph Ziggler, whether people like him or not, Dolph Ziggler is extremely talented in the ring. Dolph Ziggler did not have to pull back so Keith Lee could stay with him. Keith Lee just went with Dolph Ziggler's pace. They had a great match, and in the end, you had Keith Lee get the win. He hit the super kick and the spirit bomb.
Right.
And Keith Lee advances. Let me ask you this. When we heard about the 3 matches that were going to take place, early on, who would you think was going to face Drew McIntyre at Clash of Champions?
I thought that it was going to be, you know, Randy. I thought it was going to be Randy.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I thought that there was a chance of Dominik getting it, but, you know, Drew McIntyre would, you know, end up dominating and then, be friendly, help him up and everything. But then, because let's be honest, when you see the reports that Vince and WWE are really putting, momentum behind Dominik, they are. And honestly, I got to be honest with you.
I'm happy.
That there's nothing I could say negative about the guy. Maybe he doesn't cut the best promo. Maybe he's not his look.
I like him though. That dry promo that he has, it's very reminiscent of an old school style promo.
It's organic.
Yeah, very. He doesn't feel like he's reading from a script. It's very methodical almost. I mean, he's going to be a great heel when they eventually put him down that path. I can imagine some of those methodically slow promos. That could sound good. But yeah, no, absolutely happy that he's getting the spotlight.
Yeah. So Keith Lee advances. Then we have Sarah Schreiber. She's interviewing Nia Jax, Shayna Basler, and they're continuing the dynamic that they don't like each other, but they're champs, and Nia's taking the credit. Did you notice Nia's shirt yesterday? She came to the ring?
Yes, of course.
Why do you think she wore that?
How could I not notice pockets? I think it was a nod. I think they're friends in real life. Like, look, as much crap as people want to give Nia, myself included, another scenario where, just like I don't like the IIconics, they're friends in real life. These are girls that call each other on the phone in real life and chit chat about their day. So I don't doubt that Nia was thinking of Tamina and decided to wear a shirt. I thought it was kind of cool. It was one of the nicest things I could say about the girl. So
I mentioned it yesterday. If you really think about it, you don't rarely ever see wrestlers come to the ring wearing the shirt of someone else who is active on the roster. Like, you'll see them come out to Connoisseur stuff. You'll see them come out to pay-per-view shirts or the logos and stuff.
Yeah, the pink shirt, the breast cancer shirt.
That doesn't happen that often, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it was a nice little nod. Yeah.
I love Basler and Nia Jax's dynamic. There's comedy there.
Oh, yeah. Well, didn't you notice, too, immediately as soon as they paired Nia with Shayna, Nia's entire demeanor has changed to being more of the comical one, and Shayna has become even more stoic than she usually is.
Yeah.
Although she's always been very stoic. So it's kind of like Shayna's best bits. I hate to say this, and I hate to make this comparison, but I thought about it the other day. Do you know who Shayna reminds me of? Chris Benoit. And I say that because Chris Benoit was very stoic himself, for people that remember him. And if you remember his humor, and he did have a lot of humorous moments, you wouldn't say that about Chris Benoit, but all of his deliveries were always dry. They were very, very dry, and Shayna gives that same dry delivery. And it's like you either catch the joke and you kind of laugh at it, or you completely miss it and you don't know what happened. And that's just the way that their personality archetypes are. And I know that there's a negative connotation with comparing her to that, and I'm not saying that she's going to do anything stupid. I'm just saying that as far as the way that they carry themselves, I can see a lot of A and B working together on this. And Nia being the comedy act, maybe a little too over the top when she won the belts at Payback, maybe not. I guess it depends. She was excited, whatever. But the idea that she's going to be the antagonist and the comedian for Shayna, I can see some funny segments coming out of this. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as the character, I could definitely see that, comparing Shayna to Chris Benoit. Personally, in their personal lives...
Maybe even a Lance Storm to a lesser extent, too.
No, I think Chris Benoit, because Shayna Basler, I'm not saying that Lance Storm wasn't tough in the ring, but Lance Storm, he was talented, but he didn't have that crippler mentality, like that whole persona about him. That
you believe Shayna can whoop your ass.
Yeah,
I don't think there's anybody that doesn't believe that Shayna is a legit badass in the real world. I
hope everybody out there at some point gets to see that little video that they did of Shayna Basler on the WWE Network, behind the scenes with Shayna Basler. You watch that, and you will be left saying, wow, she is like a really likable, nice person outside of wrestling. You would be shocked. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, this really made me feel good, because at least I know that there is a pretty cool person, likable person behind what you see on TV. She's a tough son of a bitch, don't get me wrong, but you got to really go watch that. I really think, people
I might have
will
to watch
enjoy
it.
that.
I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen that one yet, but I have seen over the years, she's had some lovey-dovey videos with Ronda Rousey, where she totally turned into a little girl with Ronda Rousey, and they make fun of each other. And it's completely outside of what you see as the character Shayna Basler. So, yeah, no, I would love to see that. And it's nice to hear that they show her humanity on the side of it. So,
by the way, this is the last time I'm going to say this. Not saying it again. Not next week, not Friday, but unfortunately it's come to this. Soon as we're done with this show tonight, the words Kevin, Kev, and Castle are going to be banned from this chat. And if certain people want to keep pushing it, I will be a no-show tomorrow. I'm just telling you. All right? Some people want to be fun. I mean, they're not ruining it for anybody out there, but if you want to keep digging, all you're doing is just making me dislike. I probably have to do a complete separation for this crap to stop. Be thankful that you have a little bit still. Because if it wasn't for Patreon, there'd be nothing left. Just telling you. So now that gets blocked. And even patrons that are in the chat, if you want to keep pushing a narrative, I'll block you. Not trying to be spiteful or anything, but this is the last time I bring this crap up. All right? I swear to God, I will close Patreon down tomorrow. And don't think I won't. So I'm just telling you. Mr. Padres, you could say sayonara, because when I'm done with this show today, IP everything. Bye. So, anyway. So, getting back to Raw tonight.
Yeah.
So, after the backstage segment with Shayna and Nia Jax, we now have Asuka. They do an in-ring interview. We're wondering who's going to be Asuka's next opponent. And, usual, I beat Sasha, I beat Becky, I beat Nia, I beat Bailey, I beat this. So I'm ready for anybody. So Mickie James's music hits. And I'm thinking, all right, cool.
The backstage confrontation with Shayna and Nia.
Well,
because that kind of started it. Because before that, Asuka was in the back and she was getting interviewed, and then they came up, what it was is I think Asuka interrupted their interview. And they're like, "Hey, this is our interview. Don't be ignorant." And she shoves Shayna, which to me was like, "Oh shit, here we go. We're gonna have Shayna and Asuka kind of getting their comeuppance." And then Nia, which was kind of impressive, which shows you that the tag team unit is going to be something, stood right up into Asuka's face and say, "Try shoving me again," kind of deal. And Asuka just called her a bitch in Japanese, and and that was the end of it. And then we go to the ring. So I'm not trying to take that away from you. I'm just saying that was only important because now you can see that there's already tension between Shayna and Asuka, at least.
Yeah. By the way, Christian, my apologies. I think I hit your button by mistake. So, but Mickie James's music hits, and look. She had a return. She had that crap with Natty that was interrupted from Rollins and everything. Yeah. And I mentioned it last week. Mickie thought it was bullshit. Say it bluntly. Yeah. She was honest about it. So now she comes out, and we think, okay, Mickie James versus Asuka. I mean, I don't think there's any chance of Mickie taking it off of Asuka, but this would be great because Mickie could send a message to WWE and let the WWE Universe remind the WWE she could still go. She's not old. She's not ugly. She's not, she could still go. Why does it have to be so much of an underdog?
She's a working legend.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I joked about it on Twitter, but I joke, not joke. I would pay extra money to see this feud. I want to see not just a match, because we've seen matches between Mickie and Asuka before. I want to see an actual feud between these two. I want to see Asuka versus Mickie James in a program that lasts longer than 1 month. I want to see these two go at it. I think that people will enjoy it. And even if Mickie James ultimately loses the feud and they move Asuka on to somebody else, that's fine. But I think that the fans would really enjoy seeing a back and forth, a legend versus up-and-coming legend, feud versus Asuka versus Mickie. I think that the charisma would work very well together. I think that their styles work very well together. I just don't see why they keep hesitating on this. I don't see why they hesitate on Mickie James. Mickie James alone is one of the best women wrestlers on that roster today, and they still always seem so tentative by keeping her out there, only like in little flashes and stuff like that. Mickie James doesn't have a lot of time on the clock left. I'm not saying she's old, but I am saying that at 40, there's not too much time left for a woman. And I'm just being honest. I'm not even trying to be sexist or anything like that. It's just being honest. If you look at the ages of when women retire versus men retire, 40, she's already pushing it. Yeah. She's going into Brett Favre territory right now. Yeah. She's still throwing up touchdowns. But how long will it go before she starts talking to herself and ending up on AM Sports Radio at 2 in the morning? Right. So it's Mickie James versus Asuka needs to happen before the eventual glow of Mickie James goes away. And not for nothing, Asuka is at a point in her career right now where she's synonymous with being a title holder. She's synonymous with being a champion. She's synonymous with being one of the best representatives of WWE women's wrestling in the company today. Why in the living hell would you not put this feud made in heaven out there? It just blows my mind.
As you're saying that, I agree with you. Unfortunately for WWE mentality, I don't see that. But as you were saying it, what kept going through my head? That you look at the WWE roster on Raw right now as far as the women.
Sure.
And as far as a heel goes, you're not going to have Bayley or Sasha challenging Asuka again. We've already been there too many times.
Right.
You're not going to do it with Shayna or Nia Jax because they're champions right now. So, as you were saying, everything you said just now, one name kept popping through my head. And maybe that's why they made that decision today. Peyton Royce might be the one where WWE is going to have that feud. I don't know how I'm going to react to it because Peyton Royce, if
they really don't understand what they have sometimes, do they, DT? Do you think that the company really doesn't understand what fans like sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah, because they don't understand.
I mean, if they all right, theoretically, right? If they push Peyton Royce, don't you get the feeling that it'll end up being exactly like Carmella? Don't you get the feeling because they're going to stink on it like Carmella?
No, because with Carmella, when she fought Asuka, Carmella, they needed to do James Ellsworth. They had to have all that interaction because Carmella, and let's also be honest, at that time, they had built up Asuka so big with the undefeated streak and everything else, the WrestleMania match with Charlotte, she was so high up. People might remember when I said this, that it feels like they're having Carmella beat her repeatedly, yes, with Ellsworth interference, but to bring Asuka down. Because she was all the way up here, and they really didn't have anybody that they could bring up to that level. So what they did was they have somebody like Carmella, James Ellsworth again, and, Carmella's still not on the same level as her, but it brings Asuka down.
See, Ellsworth was the gimmick in order to keep Carmella elevated in any way, but Carmella by herself was poo-poo. She really was. Yeah. And I don't see Peyton Royce being anything more, unless they give her a gimmick, unless they find another James Ellsworth or they find somebody that Peyton can attach herself to. I don't see Peyton being able to stand on her own. I just don't.
Is Carmella...
And then putting her in there with Asuka or a Mickie James and trying to make fans believe that she could actually beat them, DT? Come on.
But do you think Carmella is one of those wrestlers that WWE just feels is designed solely to interact with fans, and because we don't have live fans there, they're really not utilizing her much at all. Because I'm look, she's not one of my favorites out there. You know, I've learned to accept her. I don't dislike her in any way, but I'm a little surprised at the lack of usage with her. I'm very surprised at that. Unless she's just frantic about COVID still.
She's a very interactive, wrestler worker. And you're right. I don't know if she had the COVID or stuff like that. But as far as her coming out to the ring, her dancing and all that, she was literally a prop to get the fans on their feet. She was literally a prop to engage the fans, whether they liked her or didn't like her. But they would often engage with her because she was good at connecting with the fans that way. There's no fans, just computer screens.
Yeah.
What's the point? Yeah. Carmella literally has no job in WWE right now. Yeah. There's nothing she can do. She can't make computer screens rise up unless they want to start putting lifts under each monitor or something, She doesn't have a job. She doesn't have a point.
I was thinking about this tonight. I know it's a little out of place, but you surprised how many fans at home have red Solo cups?
No. You can buy it at any store.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, it's not like WWE's handing out Solo cups. Everybody's home. I have Solo cups inside, but they're orange and blue and purple. I'm looking at the screen and I'm kind of surprised at how many people have readily available in their house Solo cups. I'm sure some people who...
I got silver ones. Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Solo cup is Solos are a very common plastic cup. It's a very disposable cup that isn't like styrofoam or that weird paper. That waxy paper cup. So, yeah, everybody has them. They're cheap. You can buy them at Walmart or Target or anything. It's probably the cheapest WWE merchandise that's sold.
Yeah. Speaking of merchandise, I should mention this. We were talking about Brock Lesnar before. His contract's expiring. You go on WWE Shop right now, type in Brock Lesnar's name, no merchandise comes up.
Get out of here.
No merchandise comes. Do it right now. No merchandise comes up. I don't know.
That doesn't make any sense.
It almost feels like they're playing chess with Brock Lesnar. All right, you want to negotiate a deal? We're going to pull all your merchandise and no royalties right now. Serious.
They had John Tenta merchandise there not too long ago.
I checked Matt Hardy, no merchandise. And trust me, they do. They still have merchandise that they could liquidate. EC3, no merchandise. Everybody, for the most part, who is gone, they have just, I don't know, maybe they're going to donate it to people.
Probably Wish.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that. I made that joke, though, too. But I don't know if you follow. Wish is this online store that sells all the cheap knockoff stuff.
Yeah.
But apparently WWE partnered with them. And so WWE has their own store on Wish where they sell all this clearance level items that have never sold for WWE. So maybe all that Brock Lesnar merchandise is on Wish.
I'm going to go check it out because I used to go there for battery chargers and cables. Right. You buy 20 cables for $1, but then it gets shipped from Japan. You got to wait 3 months before it arrives.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what it is. And WWE has their own store with Wish. They have their own partnership with Wish. And they do have a bunch of WWE product going for a lot cheaper, obviously, on Wish than it did on WWE Shop Zone or WWE.com. Shop Zone, Jesus Christ, sorry. But I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up on Wish, either probably not tonight, but maybe in the next day or two.
Yeah. By the way, big shout out to everybody who's tuning in live. Much love. I see the numbers are still building. So,
cool.
Hey, awesome, man. We're going to be done soon. We don't have that much left to get into. I do want to mention this before I forget. As much as some people are, a little bit critical right now, Keith Lee, and that's not necessarily his fault. I was joking before about the T stuff. I mean, I said this on Wednesday Night Dynamite 2 or 3 weeks ago. You hear his promos, you see his look, you see the colorful outfit. He's made to be a Raw or a SmackDown star. Sure. He's made. I mean, he could go like that in NXT, but he's got so many more years added to his career by going to Raw or SmackDown. He doesn't have to do half the stuff that he was doing in NXT. But for anybody that might be interested, he just launched his own Cameo. So if you go to Cameo and you want to get one from Keith Lee, I will warn you, he's charging big bucks for it. He's charging $350. But he did also note that, this was a little unclear. He said, like his other, signings he does, he says either a portion or all the proceeds go to charity. So he didn't clarify if it's just a portion with Cameo or if it's all. But the fact that he is donating some of his proceeds at minimum to charity is a pretty cool thing. That is nice. Yeah, I don't know what charity, Sergio, but, I don't think he would lie about something like that. But, go check it out if you want. He's on
Maybe
Cameo
it's dealer's choice. Maybe it's the fans' choice. Maybe
that's
they say,
possible.
hey,
Sure.
Some of it, or can you donate all of this to charity? And he probably goes, yep.
Yeah. I mean, I do know that every so often some of these wrestlers announce that they contributed X amount of dollars for this or that. Mick Foley just contributed $2,500 to the Cauliflower Alley Club. So, I think people could check it out, look into it. So, Mickie James comes out, challenges Asuka. Natty's music hits. She comes out with Lana. And it was one of those that I was kind of worried that we were going to get like 5 entrance themes from 5 different women, like they've done in the past. This person's music hits, this person's music hits, this person's music hits, Next thing you know, you got 5 or 6 people in the ring all fighting it out to take on Asuka. So you realize how thin the WWE Raw Women's roster is. Yes, there were some names not on there tonight, but it ends up that we have Mickie James taking on Lana, and which kind of surprised me. I mean, I would have thought that Mickie James would have had the match with Natty that they should have had 2 weeks ago, but instead they give her Lana. She beats Lana in 2.5 minutes, and now we think there is a possibility that Mickie James will, in fact, face Asuka at Clash of Champions. I think that will happen.
I hope so. I really do. I really hope so. I think, like I said, and I'll stick to my guns on this one, if they work a nice feud between these two, they're going to deliver a different type of wrestling match that women's wrestling hasn't seen in years. They're both capable of things that we haven't seen on TV in years. And you're talking about 2 of the best in the company and outside of the company, no matter who says what. So if they go through with this, I think people will enjoy it. There's a lot of fans that enjoyed the initial fights between Mickie James and Asuka, those random matches. But if they work a proper program, gosh, that is a dream match, dream feud waiting to happen for me.
Mickie James will wrestle with a chip on her shoulder.
Cool.
And
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. She will tear it up.
Yep.
And the WWE Universe, that people need to realize you got to be vocal about stuff like that. It's all cool. We all have conversation, everything like that. But that's why people got to get on social media, start trending stuff. Doesn't always equate to anything. I mean, hashtag Naomi deserves better is a good example of that. WWE heard all of you and still didn't do right for Naomi,
Right.
But, Mickie James, she doesn't have much of her WWE career left. You could almost see it already that WWE would love to have her as an agent. But, we have Lana, Lana, I'm not going to criticize her. She tries, but, that match.
She works hard.
Yes.
You know what? I'll say this, and Lana's paid us some nice words over the years. Lana works hard for what she does. She's got some girl balls on her when she went overseas in the middle of all that, and she was still wearing a very risque outfit. I thought she definitely had some girl balls on the table with that when she was coming out with Bobby Lashley and stuff. And she was a fantastic ballet, like one of the better ones. Just her in-ring career, man, I can't get behind her in ring. I know that's what she wants to do. Like, out of the ring, that's what she said multiple times. She wants to wrestle. She wants to be a good wrestler. She wants to get a title. Who has the heart to break it to her that, honey, you're not good?
Yeah.
You're just not good. Yeah. You have such amazing talents in other areas. Like one of the best valets we've seen in years, DT. One of the best. But as far as your in-ring goes, it's not. I think she doesn't have, like, I'm not saying that the girl doesn't train. Of course she does. But training isn't talent. Training is a learned ability. And while you can train a lot of people, there has to be something about them that screams talent in order to propel that training to the next level.
It reminds me, I was on a bowling league for about 7 years. This is before my car accident. This was in the early 90s. And we had a guy on our team, this guy Chuck, and he was a cool guy. I mean, I haven't talked to him in a long time, but he bowled with us for about 6 years. And he kept getting a handicap. It's not a physical handicap, but they spot him pins because of how bad he plays. And this guy tried so hard. I mean, actually went to like classes and bought a glove, got his own ball, tried so hard, and he sucked. No matter what he did, he sucked. I mean, it's just sometimes some people, you know, we're not robots, and nobody's perfect. And some people, no matter how hard they try, they'll never be able to get it. And Lana, I give her A for effort. She tries. She's not the, you know, look.
She's not bad. Like, she's not dangerous.
No, but
nobody's going to sit there and say she's dangerous.
I mean, I don't see a title in the future for her. I hope that changes, but right now it doesn't seem that way. So, as we said earlier, the IIconics were interviewed in the ring about their upcoming match where they could possibly split up. Eyes are red, so it makes you think that they were crying in the back. Something tells me WWE filmed behind the scenes stuff for the WWE Network. You know, if they do air something like that where they realize that they're going to be splitting up, I want to know when they found out. I want to know if they found out today, like when they went to the building.
Oh, no, that'd be horrible.
It would be horrible, but I think
they punked them at their wedding.
I seriously think that they needed to. I think that they were split up at this particular point because of the need for another singles heel on Raw. That's what I think, because the more I think about this, last night it just hit me. Last night we had the Riott Squad versus the IIconics.
Right.
So why didn't they make that stipulation last night on the pay-per-view? Why do it the next day on Raw? I have a feeling.
Did it hurt?
Huh?
Did anything happen with the Riott Squad?
Well, you want to know something? You know, last night some people were pointing out that Liv Morgan did a move and it looked like it really hurt Peyton Royce's shoulder. I didn't really see much of any issues today, but you'd think for a pay-per-view that why not just do that last night? I don't know why they waited till Raw. I don't know. That just tells you that this might have been
more of this. Yeah, no, you're right. It could be more of this unceremonious WWE planning, like they did with Keith Lee, like they did with Aleister Black, like they did with so many other people, where instead of being prepared for the moment and giving these guys and these girls their best, they just kind of just go do it. You're gone. Go do it. You know. Yeah.
Randy Orton beats Kevin Owens in 15 seconds. Basically, what happened was Charlie Caruso, she thought that she was in Aleister Black's locker room. She's trying to get an interview. Randy Orton comes out instead. So now we're all wondering, did Randy Orton make an agreement with Aleister Black for something? Sure enough, Randy Orton's about to have his match with Kevin Owens. Aleister Black shows up, beats the piss out of Kevin Owens. The referee didn't want to start the match. The funny thing is that if someone physically can't compete, the referee does not have to start the match. But he started it, and Randy Orton beats him in 15 seconds, and that was it. I mean, this is the setup, obviously, Aleister Black versus Kevin Owens, which I'm looking forward to. This will probably be Clash of the Champions. But, maybe we'll get a teaser match or two. And Wednesday, when I do Wednesday Night Dynamite, I'll get into it a little bit more. We were all frustrated about Sammy Guevara and Matt Hardy having that tables match last week. Yeah. That should have been pay-per-view. But we were holding out hope that this will turn into a pay-per-view match, and they announced tonight that there will be a pay-per-view match between the two.
Were you frustrated with WWE dropping the ball last night with Roman Reigns and the contract signing crap?
Yeah, a little bit.
Because once again, I mean, we're even talking about Kevin Owens and Aleister Black coming out there in the middle of a match when he can't compete, and they ring the bell anyways. But I mean, in the scenario with that, Roman Reigns' contract wasn't like it was a Money in the Bank contract.
Right.
So when that bell rang for Bray and Braun to go at each other, that was it. Roman was no longer a part of that match. And then they just got to this point where Paul Heyman's standing on the ramp and Roman's running in. I guess he's in the match because reasons. Like, doesn't that short-sightedness start to really frustrate you?
Vince.
I know me and you have talked before about how much we get pissed off about botches during finishes, and then please do it again, do something else, just don't let it end on that. And we've seen that happen countless times, even recently. But when they do something storyline fuck-up-wise, where they just have a contract, and they made a big deal about this contract, Roman's going to sign the contract, and then he signs the contract after the match has already started. I don't know, man. It's short-sighted. Yeah. It doesn't make sense, and it's not believable. And you want to get this guy over as a heel. How about they make not these stupid little scenarios where it would never happen? The
whole storyline for Friday was Vince making Pierce get everybody to sign the contract, just for storyline purposes. Why would Braun not want to sign it? He wants to get his hands on both of them. Why would the Fiend? Well, the Fiend, it makes sense because a monster's not going to sign.
But the Fiend was the happiest one to sign it, DT.
Yeah, why would Roman Reigns not want to sign it? It doesn't make sense. And here's the thing. Adam Pearce failed in getting everybody to sign it Friday. So Adam Pearce back to work today like nothing. He's in the back, like I said earlier, with the security guards. Everybody, do your job. They don't do their job, and they're still in the same spot. It was just, it's very sloppy. The writing right now is extremely sloppy. But we could. Oh, I wanted to mention this too. Today's Mickie James' birthday, by the way.
Yeah.
So happy birthday to Mickie James. So, yeah, but where was Vince at the pay-per-view? When Adam Pearce didn't get the job done, where was Vince?
Right.
Roman, you got to sign it. It was sloppy. And the thing is that, we don't have live fans there. So there's not, I don't think the fans would have poo-pooed on it yesterday anyway. But it's just really shoddy. It's just not thought out thoroughly. Like I said, the stuff with Retribution is a perfect example of that.
Right. Right. I agree. Yeah, the ship is not being run well. And, I know we can blame COVID for this, and we absolutely can. I'm sure WWE is only running at 50%, but it's starting to show. And the cracks are not forgivable in some of this. Once again, you said it before, you say nitpicky, I say critical.
Yeah.
I say we're critical of these things because we've been lifelong fans. We've been watching it since we were children. We expect better of a company that's learned with us, that's grown with us. They shouldn't be making the mistakes of an indie promotion that was just brought into the world 2 years ago. This is a company we're talking about that's older than both of us. There's no reason for some of the silliness that happens. There's no reason for some of the sloppiness that happens. It's not like they don't have the connections. It's not like they don't have the power and the employees and the man hours and anything else that they could possibly need to put on these tight shows. And you wonder where all the viewers are going and stuff like that. You think me and DT, you think Joe, you think Kev, you think we're the only ones that notice this shit? Everybody out there notices. People that are watching us notice. Why do you think they turn it off? People get fed up with some of these indecisions, these discrepancies. They get fed up with these discrepancies, this lack of continuity, and they just turn it off. They're like, this is stupid. and that's it. And then now you've lost a fan. And WWE used to be back in the day, oh, it's just one fan. Who cares about them? Well, now millions of people have said that. Now what?
Yeah. Think there's any chance they're gonna put? Well, this deserves a big picture.
Oh.
Think there's any chance they're gonna put Rey Mysterio's daughter in the ring? Aaliyah Mysterio, 19 years old. There's
I don't know anything about this girl. Does she want to be in wrestling?
Do a Google search, Aaliyah Mysterio. There's a lot of pictures that will come up. Nothing bad.
No. That's not even what I'm asking. Like, has she expressed any kind of interest to like a Meltzer or WWE?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. But she's cute. I mean, you know, when someone is 19, I say she's cute. I don't go any further than that.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Yeah, no, we're not saying a perverted thing, but I haven't seen anything about her wanting to be a wrestler. But hell, I mean, many years ago, we saw Charlotte at a very young age who was featured in some segments, not only WCW, but WWE, and she ended up getting the bug in wrestling. So she's only 19, so there's still a possibility that she becomes a wrestler. I tell you, I would be more surprised if she doesn't than if she does.
Fair enough.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's in the name, it's in the lineage. I wouldn't be surprised either.
Do you think...
Has there ever been a female that's related to the Mysterios that's been in the ring?
I don't know. I mean, Carrillo's... well, no, Carrillo's not related to them. Carrillo is related to Garza. I don't know. I got to check that family tree a little bit. It's a good question. Okay. It's a very good question. Chief says that she wants to be a nurse. Yeah, I mean, that could happen. But
WWE needs medical help.
Yeah, right. Well, no, a father needs medical help all the time.
Well, yeah.
You know. I don't know what he calls her nickname or something, but it's like, Aaliyah, my knee.
Right.
You know, my knee. We got to go to the doctor. Knee surgery. Vamos. So, but, I mean, is the family there? Because, I mean, Dominik is now a WWE superstar. Why doesn't he need Angie and Aaliyah there to hold his hand? I mean, should the family be constantly seen, like, backstage for Dominik? You know, does that could that be a reverse effect? Like he needs mommy and needs, you know, family to be around him all the time? I mean, he's not a lost puppy.
But at the same time, we're talking about his first major feud, and Seth made it personal against the family, obviously with what he did to Rey and obviously what he did to Dominik. You know, so the family coming out there to support him, it makes sense. This is almost... You know, people talk about the lucha culture where, you know, donning the lucha mask in Mexico is almost like becoming a man. You know, it's like it's your rite of passage. This almost feels like WWE's take on lucha rite of passage. Dominik is slowly coming from the land of being a young boy with, you know, with athleticism behind him and with a family name. And now he's out there fighting the people that hurt his dad. Now he's out there fighting the people that made fun of his family name. Now he's out there beating the people that have beat him down. So in a way, I'm okay with his family being out there because right now, if they're out there next year, we got a problem, okay? But right now, it feels like it's a coming-of-age story. It's a father-son story. You know, it's a ritual story. You know, it's a family ritual. It's a ritual of manhood. You know, Dominik, we're watching this guy literally come from being a kid and being pushed into a position where he's going to have to stand on his own. And I think his family being there kind of adds to the weight of the Mysterio name. I mean, because let's be honest, when Charlotte came out here as a Flair, Ric Flair was all over the damn place. You know, so it doesn't bother me whatsoever. Even Randy Orton, Cowboy Bob Orton was out there all over the place in the beginning. I have no problem with fathers and sons, especially of legacy names like the Mysterios, you know, coming out there together for a little while. Let's not beat a dead horse. But right now, I'm okay with it.
Okay. Hurt Business comes out. There's 3 things guaranteed in life. Death, taxes, and Bobby Lashley. Or whatever. However he said it tonight. he's cutting his promo. You know, like I said, I'm happy Lashley finally has some gold. Looks great with gold, by the way. Cedric Alexander comes out. Originally, Lashley and Shelton were going to beat up Cedric. MVP stops them, and he says, no, maybe he wanted to come out, and maybe he changed his mind and joined the Hurt Club. Yeah. And Cedric's like, hell no. And the next thing you know, we got him teaming up with a random tag team, the Viking Raiders. And the Viking Raiders and Cedric actually get a win, which kind of surprised me. I mean, you know, Cedric Alexander used the schoolboy. You know, it was Lashley, Shelton, and MVP. He used the schoolboy on MVP. But, you know, it just felt so random, you know, with the Viking Raiders. And this Demi Burnett, you know, I don't understand. I don't get it. She's cute, don't get me wrong. But you got Angel Garza chasing her with flowers. She's kissing a Viking Raider. She's got a crush on this person. She's like, what? I don't. It's almost like I don't even know. I mean, it's just like a potted plant in an area that you shouldn't have plants. Like, I don't understand what the purpose is. Why is she there? Is she on the writing team? Is she training? As far as I know, she's not training to be a wrestler. Am I missing something with her?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I have nothing against her. Don't get me wrong. But, I mean, to me, it's like, I don't know. I just, you know, seeing all these wrestlers, like, all wowing over her, and she's kissing people on the cheek. And, you know, we'll get to, you know, that match in a moment with the Street Profits and Andrade and Angel, because I actually put a little phrase on social media some people got a kick out of. But first, we have the IIconics beating, the Riott Squad beating the IIconics. So now, because of that win, the Riott Squad have a future tag team title shot, and the IIconics are forced to split. Now, the reason why I also say I think that this decision was very abrupt from WWE, it wouldn't surprise me if this decision was made today to split them up. You would think, you had the IIconics cut this promo earlier. They're all teary-eyed. They've been together since they were little kids. Maybe they were in the womb together. I don't know. But, you know, they've done everything all their lives and this and that. The Riott Squad are like this too. So you would think, if you're fighting so your team could stay together, why does this match end in less than 3.5 minutes? You have the IIconics. You should be doing everything to avoid losing because your team is forced to be split. I'm talking storyline here. Why does this match end in less than 3.5 minutes?
Because it was a rushed storyline in order to push the actual narrative. That's why. Because the match itself didn't matter. Because, like you said earlier, if this was something that was known or this was an idea for WWE to get rid of Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, why didn't they do it at Payback?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess when you really point that out to the fact that this match was only 3 minutes, I guess it kind of does. Maybe they did drop it on him. Maybe they did just totally CM Punk him tonight. Maybe they waited till 9:30 and said, "Hey."
I'm telling you, I think we're going to find out that this decision was made in the last 24 hours.
I would say even less than 24 hours. I mean, the way that you're describing it, I wouldn't be surprised if it literally took place at Raw. Like they were given notes right at Showtime in the gorilla position. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know. You're right. 3-minute match for a farewell.
Yeah. It's just. But yeah. I mean, I could blame it on Billie Kay. I agree with VJ and everyone else, but it doesn't make sense. Just for storyline purposes, your team is on the line. I mean, all that history, you just cut that promo and they lose in less than 3.5 minutes.
That's a good point.
What a really, as much as I don't like the IIconics as a tag team, what a shitty way to have them split up.
I saw you pee on Twitter.
Yeah, I did that last time because they were doing a segment with a moment of bliss. And I said, this is an iconic moment to piss. Because when I used to see the moment of bliss segments, I would call them a moment to piss. Because Alexa Bliss's segments, let's be honest, are not all that great. She doesn't have crazy charisma. So
Watch out, you're going to get the Bliss bits after you if you say that.
Yeah. No. I mean, I have no problem with Alexa Bliss. I just, them feuding with the IIconics was kind of painful. So I always had the urge to pee whenever they would interact on TV, and I happened to have an iconic moment to piss. So I revisited it one last time. But I will even say, what a shitty way for WWE to end the IIconics. I could see if one of them failed the wellness program, or one of them has to fly back to Australia because the kangaroo is sick or something. Like, I could see if there was something major that we got to do decision now. But after 5+ years, and this is a guy that's not an IIconics fan, and I even say, what a really crappy way to end their tag team. Didn't like it. Thought it was a waste.
It was not good.
No.
It was not good, man.
Rollins reading the riot act to Murphy from last night, getting kicked in the face. We all said last night that was going to happen.
Dude, I was waiting for him to grab him by the back of the head and put his nose on the mat and rub it in like he just peed on the floor or something like that. He's treating him like a puppy. I said, and he even smacked him upside the back.
Seth should have made him. Seriously, you know what I would have done?
Laughed. It was one of the very few times I can remember Seth making me actually laugh. Him slapping Buddy upside the back of the head, with just that smack right upside the back of the head.
Are you stupid?
I laughed. It was totally like he was kicking a puppy. That's what he was doing. He was totally just kicking a puppy. And Buddy is just taking it. I laughed throughout that entire segment. I know I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to feel bad for Buddy and be worried about, oh, no, what is Seth going to do? But, dude, it was fucking hilarious.
You know what I would have liked to have seen done? But the problem is they didn't have Murphy, like, under Rollins as a trance. Not Papa Shango trance, but doing anything that Rollins says. If this was maybe in front of live fans, I would have, if I was Rollins, I would have instructed Murphy to get on his knees and be forced to take the curb stomp.
Oh.
That's what I would have
you
done.
want to beat him in. You want to do him like old gangbanger style. You want to put him up against the garage.
I would have forced him to go on his knees, look down, and Seth Rollins curb stomp.
It's time for some violations for Buddy Murphy. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So, anyway, Seth Rollins, 10-minute match with Dominik.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like Rollins, but I have said this for 2 or 3 straight weeks now. Got to give a hell of a lot of credit to Seth Rollins for the success of Dominik so far on television, because Seth Rollins has made him look like $1 million. Rollins comes out on top. He came out on top yesterday, came out on top today. Well, not yesterday, the week before. But even Dominik in losing, he is winning. And Seth Rollins is helping this guy, I would arguably say, as much as Ray is. Rollins is doing so much good for Dominik right now. That storyline, I hope that storyline lasts another month. Because I don't want to see Dominik versus Caillo or Dominik versus Garza. You could do that down the line.
You could squeeze out one more month out of this, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I could see that.
Yeah.
But this next month has to be the moment where Dominik stands up as a man. Where Ray doesn't interfere, where Buddy doesn't interfere, where his family doesn't interfere. Sorry.
God bless.
Thank you, man.
Salute.
Where nobody interferes, and it's just, and it can even be like a ladder match or something unique like that, but where it just comes down to Seth versus Dominik.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? With some of what they're doing with Murphy, this may end up where Dominik, I'm not saying Dominik's going to join Rollins anytime soon. I'm not saying that.
No.
But I think you're going to see something shift. I thought about the idea of Aleister Black joining up with Seth Rollins, which kind of would piss off Murphy a little bit because of their history. And maybe, Aleister Black, because, he's having a feud with Kevin Owens, and then what? So I tell you, I like what they're doing with Dominik and Rollins.
It's an easy way. It's an easy transition, though. I mean, you're kind of right. Then what? Well, it's simple. Once Dominik wins this and he regains his family name and he wins the ritual and he becomes a man, it's not unheard of that another wrestler takes him under his wing and shows him their ropes. I mean, I could see Kevin Owens showing Dominik a thing or two, saying, "Hey, you impressed the hell out of me. Your dad's a good guy. Why don't you come here? Let me show you a couple things against these two asshats."
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Rollins hits the curb stomp on Dominik for the win, hits another curb stomp, and Ray, gets Rollins out of there.
Yeah.
It's not, like I said, Dominik losing right now, he's fine. He's fine.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I really cannot say anything bad about Dominik. I really can't.
Yeah,
I am pleasantly not surprised because I have been saying
He's
it.
He's a crazy baby face, though.
Yeah.
He look really young.
Yeah. So, we go to Raw Underground. We got Titus O'Neil winning 2 jobber matches. Then he fights Riddick Moss. And, I like Riddick Moss in Raw Underground, but if you watched it early on, he's punching Titus's arm. It looked sloppy. That's why you got so many camera angles. And I have loved Raw Underground since day one. I have praised it since day one. But there's one problem that they keep falling into the trap with is they at the end of the day, they have people in there who are wrestlers first than anything else. Shafir, Duke, some others, Ruas, which I can't believe they haven't featured in more. They come from MMA background, so they have that in their genes, in their repertoire. You see too often where these wrestlers are trying to do takedowns, and when they do the takedowns, Dolph Ziggler, I think last week, tried to go for a pin. Someone else started doing I don't even know what, but you could see the wrestler is coming out and it looks sloppy, and that's why you have camera angle, camera shot, camera angle, camera angle, camera angle. Too many camera angles, but that's to cover up all the sloppiness because you got wrestlers trying to be more MMA. Trying to be MMA. Riddick Moss went low on Titus O'Neil, to say it nicely. But the problem is you can be MMA and not have to do it in 30 seconds. They're all trying to win. MMA, you want to obviously win as quickly as possible. But the thing with these guys is, the storyline, the suspension of disbelief, is that every wrestler that is in Raw Underground is trying to win their match in 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to do all these crazy takedowns and this and that, and it just looks like a hot mess. You can go 2 minutes, and it seems like whenever they want to extend it, how they extend it is they throw the person outside the ring. I've seen too many times already where they just throw somebody outside the ring, and it's like, this is how you buy time? It's too fast. It's too fast. So Riddick Moss ends up beating Titus O'Neil. It was okay. Not a big deal. Non-title tornado match, Street Profits versus Angel Garza and Andrade. No contest. Retribution comes out, and I wrote this on Twitter. I think Angel Garza had premature evacuation. Not ejaculation, but premature evacuation.
Oh, no, I got it.
The referee sensed something was wrong, But I don't recall, unless I missed something, I don't recall Retribution actually hitting the ring. Like Angel Garza took Demi Burnett and ran off before Retribution hit the ring. I think Angel Garza might have left a little too soon. I don't know if you felt that way, but even if the referee gets out of dodge, like Angel Garza, it's almost like, you know what he looked like? Apparently dogs can sense when like a tornado is coming or some type of, you ever hear that, like a dog like senses like some weather
storms have that nature sense. They know when shit's coming. That's why birds will flee the area if a tornado's coming. And, right.
It seemed like Garza was like an animal. I mean, all he had to do was go, oh! How did he know? And they're not doing a storyline where Garza's involved with this. Like, he's looking around. I'm telling you, it was like a dog in the yard that senses a storm. He just ran off. I thought it was so, and then they went to a commercial break in the midst of all of this. Awful. This is 3-4 straight weeks of hot garbage with Retribution. Hot garbage. Yeah. So, more Raw Underground. This time the IIconics are in Raw Underground. Jessamyn Duke beats Avery Taylor. Marina Shafir beats up somebody. And then Shafir and Duke are staring at the IIconics. Again, like two people in an area they're not supposed to be. And Peyton Royce actually pushed Billie Kay in the ring. And Jessamyn Duke knocks her out. Peyton Royce acted like she didn't care all that much. You know, so I think this may lead to their match, maybe as quickly as next week.
And it could make sense, too. I mean, the reason that she did it, obviously, she's unhappy with being forced to leave. And now, in the back of her mind, she did it because, well, screw this girl. She just lost me my gig.
Yeah.
And so we sacrificed Billie Kay. If they take it to the next level, we could see a match between them, or that could just be it.
Yeah.
And the last time we ever saw Billie Kay was getting knocked out on Raw Underground. So,
yeah. So she cost them their career together. So, yeah, they're going to have a match. I think it's going to happen next week.
15 years together?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And just storyline purposes. Less than 3.5 minute match. So now we have, they're hyping up the match that was supposed to be Cedric Alexander versus Shelton Benjamin in Raw Underground. And, they're about to have their match, but the entire Hurt Business is there. And you got MVP beating the crap out of one of them. You have Lashley beating the crap out of one. And the next thing you know, the whole Hurt Business has laid out Alexander and, Ricochet. And that's how you ended Raw Underground for tonight. Again, I have no problem with the Hurt Business or Lashley dominating a Raw Underground, but it's just a little too much now. It's like, some of the people who you really could have become more of a regular name. Arturo Ruas is awesome. They showed him that one time, nothing. What happened to Yabba Dabba Kato? They showed him that time. Where has he been? Did he get COVID? Did he get cold feet all of a sudden? I don't know, but
maybe.
That's how they finished it. Then we had that awful segment in the back where, Angel Garza feels he didn't abandon Andrade, that he's a fighter, and he's
been doing that for months.
Yeah, he felt that Demi Burnett's safety was number one, and he would never put Demi Burnett, and it was like a bad TV show. Here's Angel Garza saying to Demi Burnett, your safety is my biggest concern. Then Retribution comes in. Angel Garza sees them, and he runs off. He leaves Demi Burnett there.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, oh, please beat the fuck out of Demi Burnett. Give me a reason to like her. Like earn your stripes a little bit. And what happens... We didn't see her heels. Man. I just hear click, 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 click like a horse. She runs away, and Retribution turn into Michael Myers or Jason. They don't like run after her or grab her or, nothing. They just like, ha, 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 ha. And
yeah, they're a bad comic book villain.
oh, horrible.
They're
Then,
like the lemmings before the big boss battle, you know?
Yeah, and Retribution's still in the building. And we go off the air with them still in the building. So, main event time. Randy Orton versus Keith Lee versus Seth Rollins. I thought it was an excellent match. I don't know how I feel about Randy Orton getting another opportunity, because you would think after their SummerSlam match, you would think after getting punted a couple of times, you would think after, Keith Lee getting, payback or whatever it was supposed to be, that we're moving on.
But even tonight, I mean, the thing that they're doing right with Keith Lee and both of these guys, and bless Randy Orton for doing so much for this guy.
Yeah.
I was even saying this yesterday. I'm like, Randy likes this guy for as much as he's giving him. Even tonight, Keith Lee threw Randy on the outside of the ring, just fucking threw him like he was a rag doll up against the other end of the barricade. I was like, damn. And Randy's over here like, whoa, like it was good. It's really good.
Don't it remind me of?
As much as possible to make Keith Lee look like this savage powerhouse, and it's great, and I'm loving it.
It reminded me of how Brock Lesnar felt about Drew McIntyre. Remember when Drew McIntyre laid out Lesnar, and Lesnar was telling him, grab the belt. Like he was trying to help Drew McIntyre, get even more over. And we found out that Brock Lesnar really likes Drew McIntyre. I got the same feeling tonight with Randy Orton and Keith Lee.
I think Randy Orton has turned Keith Lee into his pet project. I would not be surprised. Because, that's the one thing that Randy Orton's always been guilty of. If Randy Orton likes you, you're going to get a great match out of the guy, even a great feud. If Randy Orton doesn't care about you, he's going to sleep right the fuck through it. So.
Yeah. So I liked it. I mean, we went all this way just to end up with a rematch, Randy Orton versus Drew.
Sure.
It hasn't sunk in yet, but the big question will be, will Randy Orton get it this time? I think it's a little too early to think about that. But
Joe was actually alluding to this before, too, though. When me and him were talking even on Thursday, even before then, he was even thinking to himself that, he can see Randy Orton with the title again. And I was sitting there going, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't know if I'm ready for another Randy Orton run with the title. The position that he has right now, being circling like a vulture around the title, is perfect. He's doing a great thing with Keith Lee. He's having good matches. Do we have to elevate him and pull him away from that? I don't understand that. If you're having good matches and good feuds, why do you immediately pull somebody away from that? Why not utilize that as far as you can without becoming overly bearing about it? But why don't you utilize that and make the most out of it? You have a green guy who's not green, obviously he's been wrestling for a while.
Right.
But
he's got to adapt to the main roster style, though.
Yeah, he should be in a program. And I mean, if Seth wants to get involved too, Seth did great by Keith Lee tonight too. I can't knock Seth. Seth went out of his way to make Keith Lee look amazingly powerful again. Let these guys do their thing with Keith Lee. If they want to bring up this guy and have him be the next big thing, let them. Fucking just let them. Let them do their best. Because on their own, both of these guys suffer from personality disorder.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean,
cool.
You could feel it. You could feel it. Yeah. You could see it. I like that idea of Randy Orton just being a vulture. Always being around the title, but not... I mean, Randy Orton will be a champion again. Right now, being around it, being a vulture is
have him be
good
the
enough.
gatekeeper.
Yeah.
That's what he is. Randy Orton should be the gatekeeper.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, and Keith Lee, to see, people really trying to bring him to that level. Like I said before, you know, the style on the main roster is different from NXT. And that will, you know, prolong his career. It's more gimmick than anything else. You know, they changed a little bit of his look. The music is kind of Shangada. But, you know, it's almost like what I said with the Viking Raiders. When they first came in and everybody was complaining about the names, I said, you know what? If I'd rather see them pushed with crappy names than to have great names and be just totally misused. Same thing with Keith Lee. I'd rather see him with a crappy theme song that could always be changed down the line, but utilized the right way. You know, his song that he had before is worthless if he's misused on the main roster.
You're right, but the image helps a lot. The image is what fires you out of the gate. And when they give you a flaccid image when you come out of the gate, you can be amazing all you want, but that's going to be a hard start. And that's where Keith Lee is. He's gotten a flaccid start as far as what the merchandising team, or not the merchandising team, but as far as the makeup and the costume sets and stuff like that. Let me ask you a question, because I actually brought this up earlier with Frank and Gus. Do you think the fact that WWE let Mikaze go has anything to do with some of the silliness that they've had with the wardrobe lately?
Possibly.
Because Mikaze, obviously Sasha Banks' husband, right, was one of the main costume and set designers. Seamstress is degrading. I don't mean to call him a seamstress, but he was a costume designer and everything else like that. And he was in charge of making these wrestlers look good. And with some of the faux pas that we've seen lately with some of these wrestlers and what they're coming out with, do you think that this is one of the downsides of Mikaze being furloughed?
Yeah, it's that could definitely be a part of it. You know, I'll tell you, with Keith Lee's look, I you know what's funny about it? I don't know if anybody will agree with me on this, but it almost feels like, and this has happened before with other wrestlers over the years, but if you look at Keith Lee when he first came into WWE, it was more generic, you know, sure, more bland. Not really, I don't recall facial hair when he first came in. It's almost like that they pulled back on a lot of the Keith Lee that we knew in NXT. And what we're seeing is similar of what we saw when he first came into NXT. And I think they're now trying to, it's, you know what it's like? It's like when you're putting together, I don't know, let's say you're putting together a machine. And there's different ways that you can, or car engine. You know, you can add headers to it, you could add this, you could take away this, you can manipulate this. And sometimes you're halfway through it, and then you decide, you know what, I'm going to start over. And you take it all apart again, and then when you rebuild it, you might rebuild this a little bit different and this a little bit different. Of course, you know, with that music not being available, it's like if you wanted to put chrome heads on an engine and the chrome heads weren't available, so now you got to go with the generic, you know, Brock Lesnar type heads, because his music sounds like Brock Lesnar's. So it almost feels like they're rebuilding him. And you know what, Austin, that's a good point. In 2K20, he's got no facial hair either. So, you know, that's more reflective of his earlier, you know, stint. So I think they're going to slowly tweak little things here and there. You know, the outfit yesterday, I don't know what was up with that. Like you said, it was different. I mean, it was different, but you know, but again, I'd rather have crappy
immediately
music.
I thought, you know what I thought of? Afa
and Sika, yeah.
Afa and Sika, yeah. That's what I thought it was. I thought it was not like the same grass kind of skirt of the Islanders. I'm like, yeah, but he has no relation to them. Why is he wearing that? And then somebody pointed out that it's a stupid Dragon Ball Z character that he was trying to be. He's trying to be the character, I guess, called Broly or Brony, or I forget what the hell it's called. But it's a Dragon Ball Z character. Some, you know, fajita, whatever. I don't care.
If WWE signed off on it, I guess. I don't know. So, anyway, just to let everybody know, we have NXT on Tuesday, like I said. on Patreon, we'll be doing a watch along. The show's audio only, but we're going to do a watch along during the 60-minute Iron Man match. NXT will be replayed on Sci-Fi Wednesday at 8 o'clock. WWE wants one of their shows to go head-to-head with AEW. They could take away even 200,000 viewers. They're going to do it. So NXT will be replayed Wednesday on Sci-Fi. So just to let everybody know. Also, we have the AEW pay-per-view on Saturday, and TNT is going to do a special, the Countdown to AEW. It's a 1-hour special. It'll air 5:30 on Saturday as well. I will be doing a pay-per-view predictions contest on Patreon for AEW. Since a lot of you out there don't watch AEW, we're probably going to just do a straight-up cash prize to the winner, probably like $100 or something. Just straight-up cash prize. Make it easy, simple, and we'll probably do that. The SummerSlam predictions contest from last week, I announced it on the website yesterday. We had 3 people that one person got the grand prize, which was Christian Montez. Name that I know a lot of you here know. Christian Montez won the predictions contest. He scored 11 points, but he came closest with the tiebreaker match, which was Apollo Crews versus MVP. John Coffey and Pran Fernando, they came in second. They had the second and third best tiebreaker. So John and Pran get their choice of either $25, could be Amazon e-gift card, money order, PayPal, or any T-shirt or any video of your choice, one of those. And Christian Montez gets his choice from the prize wall. So congratulations to all 3. Nice. Shout out to Freddie J. Happy belated birthday. I'm just going through this. Oh, let me plug one more thing, and then I wanted to mention one more thing, and we could call it. And I know we went longer. We definitely have to condense it a little bit better. A lot of it's my fault for some of the things.
No, I've been very talkative.
Yeah, that's done. When the show's done later, I'm going to be banning some words, and that will not happen again. If anybody wants to check out AEW Dark on Tuesday, you got Private Party versus Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler, Ali versus Cassandra Golden, Danny Jordan versus Abaddon. Don't know why they're not using Abaddon in the main roster. Sean D versus Kip Sabian, Billie and Austin Gunn versus Donnie Janela and Ryan Rembrandt, Anna Jay versus Red Velvet, Jurassic Express versus John Cruz and David Ali, Santana and Ortiz versus Fabu Andre and Ryzen, Sean Spears versus Eddie Torres, Ricky Starks versus Tony Donati, and Frankie Kazarian versus Angelico. Before we go, did you happen to catch what Braun Strowman said on the WWE Network yesterday about his mental health issues?
I heard that it was basically him. I didn't actually hear the direct clip, but it basically circles the drain about the guys dealing with some kind of personal depressions.
Contemplated suicide numerous times. Vince McMahon talked him out. Really? Yeah, he before he became a WWE star, there was a couple of times that he was in very, very deep places. I don't want to reveal too much about his situation with his mom, but I'm telling you all, even if you don't like Braun Strowman, go out of your way and watch that segment on the WWE Network about Braun Strowman. It would surprise you because you would think a guy, physique like that, got so many opportunities even before he became a WWE wrestler, to see a giant of a man like that pretty much crying and talking about how he contemplated suicide multiple times. And one time in particular, he went to Vince and he said to Vince, he's like, I really need to talk to you. Not like boss to employee, but like father to son. And Vince threw everybody out of the office. And he said that he gives Vince credit for really helping him turn it around. Mental illness is something, it's almost like carbon monoxide to me that, you know, for all people know, I could have it bad. For all people know, you could have it bad. For all we know, a lot of people in the chat could have it bad. It's something that you can hide and nobody ever knows about until you got your breaking point. It's something that, you know, it's like carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide has no odor to it as far as I know. And, you know, it could just get you out of nowhere. Mental illness has no physical features about them. Yes, there is warning signs, but for some people, they just keep it bottled in, keep it stored in, and it builds and it builds and it builds. And I tell you, when I was done with the show yesterday, I went into the other room. My fiance was still up, and I said to her, I said, "Look, I'm sorry I went so late." And she's like, "It's okay." She's like, "I just watched this thing about Braun Strowman," had her crying. And she doesn't even like Braun Strowman. I said, "What happened?" And she started telling me, and I started watching a little bit, and I was just totally taken off guard by this.
Right.
You really should go check it out. I think it'll really surprise you. It's very, very moving, and, you know, I give a shout out to everybody who is battling depression, whether it's relationship, COVID, storms, you know, just life itself, you know. It's rough, man. And you watch this with Braun Strowman, you just sit there and you say to yourself, this guy, it'll surprise a lot of people.
Right.
So, but Mish, I sincerely apologize that we went an hour longer than we needed to.
I've had actually a really good time, and I hope people enjoy it.
And look, again, I want
to keep higher energy because people told me, you know, I mean, I'm glad that people enjoyed last week, but, you know, I get the joke every once in a while, why don't you talk more? Why are you just sitting there? So, you know, if I've been kind of like a dour on previous shows, I hope I can fix that. And,
people loved it tonight.
I tried to be a little bit more talkative tonight. I had a lot more to say, and I thought it was a fun show overall. Dude.
And, you know, you're welcome back. You're welcome back next week, the week after. Again, I want to make this clear to everybody. It's not that somebody was replaced for someone else.
No.
This is a video show. And yes, an audio-only version is always available. Mixler
already like what, 2 years, 3 years now? So.
Yeah, we've been doing Breakfast Soup for 4 or 5 years already. So it's not that anything new. But the thing is this is video. And the audio only on one side and the video with the new software and the new equipment and all this setup, it's not compatible. So it's more of a technical reason than anything else. So, you know, Mish comes on, it's because he's on video with me. So I want everybody to remember that. So, you know, I know 99.9% of you out there get it and know the deal and know that it's just, you know, got to move in different directions. That happens with everybody. But nobody is doing anything to hurt anybody. Nobody's doing anything to spite anybody. And, you know, at the end of the day, Mish is family, and Mish makes me better, definitely makes me a better host. And if he wants to come on here every single week, as long as his camera is connected, he will be here. So one thing I got to just do is we got to make bigger screens so our likeness is bigger. You know, we got these tiny little boxes. So, you know, that'll be improved. And some of the other templates people have seen is bigger viewing area. You know, I can hit 2 buttons and we can have no template whatsoever. I could just do something like, I could do something like this. Hey, everybody, what's going on? You know, I could do something like that. I mean, I could make it bigger. I could put Mish, just Mish. Hey, look, I could just do this. There's Mish all by himself. You know, just a little tweaking, take the position, move them down. Look, there you go. So, you know, it can be done. So it's just so many things going on at the same time. You know, there's only so many hours in a day. And when you think about it now, you know, yesterday Yesterday podcast, today podcast, Tuesday a podcast, Wednesday a podcast, Friday a podcast, Saturday a podcast. I mean, there's 6 out of 7 days a week now there's shows going on. Plus, I got a full-time job, parents that I got to help and take care of a little bit, fiance, and my regular life. So you try to fit everything in. But, Mish, pleasure as always, my friend.
Much love. Thank you very much, everybody.
Later this week, yeah. We'll talk some business.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later on this week, too.
All right, my
and
friend.
we'll talk about Libsyn, too. So
yes.
All right, bud.
Take care, Mish. Later. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Technically, it's the Don Tony Show, but, you know, the only template I have with 2 pictures is breakfast soup, so that's why you see the breakfast soup banner. And again, you know, Benjamin, I'm good. I'm good. You don't have to worry about me. I'm not getting burned out or anything like that. You know, I just, you know, the amount of work that was involved to compensate for other things, I just can't do it anymore. But again, everybody is welcome to sign up on Patreon. You know, you could get the DTKC shows. Please, it's not a money grab, everyone. If it was a money grab, we would have charged $5 to $10 a month if you wanted the shows that bad. We put it up for $2. That's it. And when you add up, when Patreon takes their cut, the cut to do the shows and host it, my cut, and what do you think I get? 35 cents per person? So, you know, it's not a money grab. But the reason why it continues on Patreon is because without our Patreon family, none of this would be possible. The shows would not have continued for all of these years because it cost a lot of money to run these shows and websites and host and bandwidth. So our Patreon family, more than anything, wanted the show to continue. So that's why it's continuing on Patreon. Because if the Patreon page didn't exist, the shows would have been off the air at least 2 years ago. So, you know, that's pretty much it. So you're all welcome to sign up. Again, I created a tier. We're now September 1st, so everybody could sign up. And there's a tier. If you want nothing but the DTKC show, you could sign up for that tier. If you want, you know, more and the Patreon shows as well, you could sign up for that tier. But you sign up, DTK, and not only that, you're now allowed to have 1-year subscriptions. You could pay for a year in advance. So I think you get like 10% off. So if it's $2 a month, that's $24 a year, and they take off like $2 or $3 for a 10% discount. So you sign up, and if you pay like $22, you got a year of DTKC shows. And, you know, some people have asked, well, what happens if DTKC ends before the year? Well, you get your money back for whatever time is remaining. So if you sign up for a year and then 4 months from now it's over, you get your 8 months refunded back. So nobody gets ripped off. That Patreon page, honestly, for what you get, and I'm not trying to be Don West here. If you notice one thing about me, I have gone out of my way to rarely ever mention Patreon on the shows. Some people started feeling a couple of years ago that all I was doing was advertising Patreon. But I do 3 to 4 shows a month over there. Kev does 4 shows a month over there. Now you got the 4 DTKC shows a month over there. Plus, every non-Patreon show that I do, this one, Wednesday Night Dynamite, Friday's Don Tony Show, pay-per-view recaps, you have them all on Patreon ad-free. So you know how Conrad has adfreeshows.com? You get all of these shows, you get ad-free versions of it. So there is a hell of a lot you get, and you could sign up for $2. If you think $2 is too much, then that's fine. I totally respect that. But for anybody out there to accuse yours truly, I paid for everything that was run for these shows. I paid for 20 years. I paid for 20 years. You know, so it's not like, you know, that people have been paying for this stuff for us for all these. I paid out of my pocket for 20 years. We'll never see that money ever again. Did it because I love this. I love doing this for all of you. I still don't understand why all of you are tuning in. I don't get it. I'm doing this, going to be 24 years. I don't get it, but I like it, and I hope you like it. And speaking of likes, before you leave, if you enjoyed tonight's episode, give it a good old thumbs up. I will be back here Wednesday night for Wednesday Night Dynamite. I will review NXT on Wednesday. I'll review AEW Dynamite. We'll get into some other news. Interesting stuff that went down between the WWE and Chris Jericho about some... people were saying trademarks, but it was more intellectual property. WWE and Chris Jericho did a little business recently. We'll talk about that Wednesday. And we'll get into other stuff as well. But everyone, enjoy the night. Much love as always. And I'll catch you all again Wednesday for Wednesday Night Dynamite. So take care, everybody. Ciao.